But we're starting today by meeting a mother who's challenging the norm by refusing to tell her friends and family if her 4-year-old is a boy or a girl.
Leah Borromeo hasn't even told her child what gender they are, and she joins us now to tell us why. Good morning.
Good morning.
Very
Leah.
nice
Thanks
to
for joining
see you.
us.
So this was something that you decided you were going to do long before Riley was born.
Very much so, yes.
Why?
Because my partner and I were both quite committed to equity, and we both saw and observed how we were raised as children, and how we kind of got a little bit annoyed. So when I was being brought up, I remember telling my mom, why, or asking them, like, why are boys always allowed to do everything they want to do, but girls just have to sit still and be quiet? And for me, that seemed really unfair. And the same thing for my male partner as well, because, he was undergoing a lot of things as a kid, and he was being told and being restricted from doing certain things within, his upbringing, not by his parents, but by other people presuming that, of course, he was going to be good at sports, of course he was going to be doing, of course he was. But this was all the stuff that I just didn't sit right with us.
Right.
And
So you decided that you were going to raise your child gender-free. Can you just explain exactly what that involves and what that means?
so for us, it means not telling anybody necessarily what or ascribing a gender to them. So it's not saying you are one of an either binary. So their sex is their sex. And so when we are at the doctor's or anywhere else, it's kind of like, okay, this, or with a passport, for instance, or their birth certificate, the sex is their sex. The gender, of course, is how you feel inside. So what we're more concerned about and what we're focused on is making sure that they are able to discover what they are inside. And so other parents who are in the sort of gender creative community or in the gender free community, some of them do use a binary pronoun, but they still allow their children the freedom to play and to dress and to act in whatever way they choose. But one thing we've observed about that is once you assign a gender to somebody, immediately people will change their behavior. And we noticed this in the delivery room when we heard people talking about newborns having such strong muscles and being brave little soldiers and being delicate princesses. And it's like, they're just babies. They're both strong because they made it this far, but they're also very delicate because they need us to survive.
Is that a problem, though? Do you think it's a problem when people will describe the newborn baby that might be a boy as saying, doesn't he look strong, he's going to be really brave, and a little girl or a newborn girl as she looks like a beautiful princess? Is that a bad thing?
It's in an isolated circumstance, I don't think anything is necessarily bad. But once it just keeps getting repeated, and once it keeps being reiterated, then there is a chance that this child will only see themselves as pretty. They will only see themselves as this, and they will only see themselves as strong. And then maybe they're not. Maybe they don't feel that way. And that, for us, is something that we didn't want to do. So we've used pretty much everything in both.
So when Riley was born, and you obviously, you spoke to your family and they must have been so happy. What did you say to them at that moment? And were they surprised when you didn't say, oh, we've had a little boy or we've had a little girl?
Oh, I mean,
how did they react?
We had a lockdown baby, so it was a little bit stranger than other circumstances. So Riley's first interaction with any family member was through a Zoom call.
Right.
There goes my screen-free childhood. Literally.
That's a whole nother battle.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So when we did that, it was like, hello, hi, and I was just tired. And Riley was just kind of, nuzzling, half asleep and cooing and everything else. And then somebody in my family just went, a boy or a girl? And I said, well, they haven't told us yet.
And what was the response?
I think that kind of, it wrong-footed some of them, because there's quite a few on the screen. So I couldn't really see which ones. I just kind of responded to the person who was asking. And someone said, but you must know. You must... And I went, no.
And interestingly, when you say they, you don't mean the midwives, the doctors, you mean Riley.
Yeah.
Riley hasn't told you yet whether they are a boy or a girl.
Correct.
Which is an extraordinary sort of position to take. I mean, it's so unusual to hear. We're both parents, we've all been there, your family are waiting, you want to know. Whether you wait to find out whether it's a surprise or not. I wonder how complicated it's been, though, Leah, for you and your partner, and equally for Riley. Riley's 4 now, right? So how complicated is it navigating a world where you've chosen to bring them up like that?
So in the sort of admin stakes of things, because you have to get a birth certificate, you have to do all of that clerical stuff. If they ask for a sex, we provide it. If they ask for a gender, usually what we do is we'll call them up or we'll send them an email and say, hey, look, this is what we're doing. And oftentimes they'll be like, oh yeah, I didn't realize that we put that on the form, because they just presumed that sex equals gender and gender equals sex. So oftentimes what they did is they either say, well, you don't have to answer that, or here's a third option. So most often, I'd say about 90% of the time, people are, and sort of, even institutions, like our doctor, for instance, they offered us another option. Back in the day, the American government also offered us another option.
Yeah.
So,
which I think sounds actually doable when you're in a controlled environment like that, and when you're, with Riley most of the time. But when Riley then has to go to school, what is that going to be like for them?
Yeah, well, we're starting school in September.
Right.
And so we delayed them by a year because they were summer born, and we thought, hey,
They're late
just,
for the year,
let's just give them another year to play.
Yeah.
Sure.
And when we were at nursery, for instance, the nursery was like, oh, we've not encountered this before.
Okay.
Let's bring you in and let's have a conversation. And then they brought in other speakers to also have a conversation about it. So all the staff and all the parents and everyone in the wider nursery group suddenly got hip to it. And they're like, oh yeah, that's really good. And other people were really quite accepting of it. And so they just took it in their stride.
There is a moment, though, isn't there, I think, Leah, that people will be sitting at home. We have lots of parents watching the show with parents, and they'll say, look, when your children are in nursery and 4, it's lovely, but the kids don't necessarily notice so much. They run around and it's all easy. As you go to school and they get a bit older, it gets more complicated, and there's older kids as well.
And you can't protect them so much.
And all you really want to do is make their lives as easy as possible.
Yeah.
What do you say to people that will look at you and what you and your partner have decided to do with Riley and say, you're not making their life easy. This is making their life more complicated.
I can totally hear that. And we have had not much, because we chose the primary school that they're going to be going to because of its accepting and open and sort of
approach
to kind of educating kids. And a lot of the children there are already in that sort of mindset. So one of the things that we really want to do fundamentally now is to build up Riley's resilience and to build up their ability to be able to answer this for themselves.
Yeah.
So oftentimes it's like, so what about this? Why aren't you doing this? Aren't they traumatized? Aren't they in some way shocked? Or aren't you doing them a disservice? And it's like, ask them. Because they are now more increasingly able to just say who they are. If a
They're
child
only
in the
4,
play,
though. I mean, Leah, at some point, Riley's going to be a teenager.
Yeah.
And we know the complications that come with being a teenager. And then if they look back and say, I can't believe you complicated that would be my concern as a parent. You want to try and get them there, arm them with the ability. I think what you're talking about, making them resilient, is a really, really fantastic quality to be able to help your child with. But that's what I can imagine people at home saying, this is going to get so complicated. Are you doing this for Riley, or are you doing this for yourself and for your partner to try and...
That's a really valid question, a really valid point to ask. And what I would come back on that is, who has not had a complicated teenage life? Who has not had an issue with how they have always been brought up? So what we're trying to do is trying to in some way denude it from that complication. So we have quite a lot of friends who didn't necessarily appreciate being put in certain dresses or being treated in certain ways.
So you think the way you're going to do it is going to lessen the complications?
We hope. Everything's going to be complicated.
Sure.
We're looking, this morning I had to say, Riley, please eat your cereal at least 15 times. I resorted to bribery. So there are so many things that are complicated. And now small people, small problems, big people, big problems.
Yeah.
And I know this will get harder. It doesn't get easier, it always gets different.
Yeah. And when you preempt the future, what do you see? Is Riley going to essentially choose?
If they want to.
Right.
The pressure isn't on them to choose. They don't
Right.
have to.
Okay.
If they feel they need to,
Yeah.
they will.
Yeah.
And sometimes some people have already asked, and occasionally they'll say, oh, well, so-and-so says, these kids wear trousers, these kids wear dresses, these kids play with this, and these kids play with that. And I said, well, what do you think? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about somebody saying that to you and saying that you can't do that just because you look a certain way? I was like, that's not fair.
No, it's not fair, and I don't think anybody watching would think any boy or girl shouldn't be allowed to do whatever they want to do, regardless of their gender that they choose to be.
Running in the road, you can't do that.
No, please
yeah.
don't do that.
It's fascinating, Leah. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story. Wish you and your partner and Riley all the best. It's going to be exciting when they go to school in September as well. It's a big moment.
Whole
isn't
new
it?
world.
Whole new
I'm
world.
so nervous.
Yeah, you will be.
As any new
so
mummies.
nervous.
As any new mummies.
And Riley will be equally nervous but very excited as well, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.
They say the secret to a happy marriage is to never go to bed on an argument, but maybe it's to actually go to bed with someone else.
That's the theory of Deepa Paul, our guest today, who has a husband and a boyfriend. Good morning, Deepa. Nice to see you.
Morning.
Good morning, Kat. Good morning, Ben.
morning.
Lovely to be here.
Great to have you on the sofa. Obviously, as soon as we understand a little bit about you in the book that you've written, there's so many questions that people start asking. We're in conventional relationships, both Kat and I. You have a very different sort of approach. Can you just explain a little bit what your status is in your relationship?
So I've been married for 17 years. I've been a mother for 12 years, and I also have a boyfriend 5 years. And currently, I'm not dating anyone else because, as you can imagine, that's a pretty full plate.
I don't know how you do it all. In all honesty, I've got no idea how you juggle everything.
Well, I could say the same for you. You're walking over here while reading and, being such a bubbly, smiley person. So I think it's just, something that fulfills me is to explore new connections with other people and just see what that reveals about myself. We see ourselves in the mirror of relationships, and I think that's absolutely fascinating work. And part of what I wrote about in the book is how my husband came along with me for that adventure. And a lot of people do ask me how it works.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what the book is called.
Well, yeah, because I think you wrote the book because so many people were asking you questions about it. So here is my husband, here is my boyfriend, here I am.
Here I am. So the questions I received were mostly in the beginning from men on dating apps.
Right.
Ask me how it works. It was on my Tinder profile. I said to people, I'm here with my husband, go on, ask me how it works. And 9 times out of 10, people would say, well, I have all these questions. And it began just as an attempt to answer, people's curiosity. But it just grew. It started out as an essay, and it just grew and grew and grew. And, almost 400 pages later, we have a whole book.
So you've got a sort of exploratory book on how it works. But if we go back to when it started, Deepa, because you're in your marriage with your husband, but then you started feeling like you wanted to explore elsewhere as well. So you started sort of having affairs outside of the relationship, am I right?
Yeah, let's step back a little bit.
Okay.
I come from the Philippines. It's a very conservative culture. Fun fact, one of the last 2 countries in the world where divorce is illegal.
So you cannot get to... Is that because of religion?
Yes,
Right.
absolutely. The other nation, by the way, is Vatican City, population 865.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people getting married
Quite a
there.
lot of priests there as well.
Yeah, so it was really conservative, and I just always felt I was at odds with the way people saw relationships and pleasure and desire. And then I moved to Amsterdam, which was the real hinge point because it's a very liberal city. And I saw all the different ways people could experience relationships, but also pleasure. And I wanted to try it all. So in the beginning, I explored on my own, but that wasn't really working.
Can I ask a question about that, Dee? Because you're in a relationship, in a marriage with somebody that you're in love with, you have a family. I'm not sure if you had a family then, but how did you deal? Did you cope with guilt in that scenario when you know that you're sort of traditionally within the relationship you aren't supposed to go and have extramarital affairs, and you were? How did you manage that part of it?
Well, I remember feeling kind of guilty and ashamed about how I was and all of these things that I was curious about. I wondered, am I too much? But then part of what I learned is I can ask for what I believe I deserve. You don't have to hide it. You can be upfront and honest with the person you love and trust that they'll accept you. And in the beginning, it wasn't smooth sailing because, stepping out of the bounds of a traditional relationship, it's a process.
Yeah.
But if
How did he react?
I was going to say, how did you broach the subject? Like, what did you say? And were you honest about the previous affairs that have been illicit? Or how did you do it?
Well, the affairs kind of came out on their own. It was one affair, and I'd explored online with answering ads on a personal site just to find out about, all these things I was curious about. And when all of that came out into the open, it was a real hinge point, a turning point. So there was a lot of trust that had to be rebuilt. And we really sat down and had to have this kind of come to Jesus conversation about what do I want out of a marriage? What do you want out of a marriage? We'd already been married 10 years at the time. So there was a lot of trust, but also, just this moment kind of, destroyed all that, and it had to be rebuilt. It's not something I would recommend for people who want to dive into open relationships. I wrote about my messes in the book, so you don't have to make them. But, over time and just being consistent with each other and being honest with each other, we came to a place that's really beautiful for both of us.
And what was your husband's initial reaction?
Well, when I first brought up the idea of all the things I wanted to try that I was reading about, he was vehemently against it. He said, decent people don't do these things. Married people don't do these things. But I've always seen marriage as an adventure, as a team undertaking. And I said, I want to go on these adventures with you.
Yeah.
Is there some way we can do that together?
Right.
And polyamory wasn't on the cards when we started out. But now it's an option that for most people exists. A lot of people are exploring it now because of the flexibility and freedom that it gives them.
Deepa, what's the exact definition of polyamory?
So for me...
Yeah. Does it change depending on who you are or how you frame it?
I think so.
Right.
Well, I can't really quote you from a book other than my own. But for me, polyamory means the ability and the capacity to be in multiple intimate and romantic relationships with more than one person.
So you are now in a relationship with your husband and also your boyfriend.
Yes, I am.
Robert, and that's 5 years you've been together?
Yeah, 5 years and counting.
And so initially I think your relationships were very brief hookups, but you then fell for Robert and actually must have a real connection with him because you've been with him for 5 years. How do he and your husband get along?
Oh, there's a term I want to tell you about which is called garden party polyamory.
So
it's like both of them encounter each other at social situations. It's like the garden party you go to once a year, maybe like the VE celebration.
Right. Yeah.
And they're quite social with each other. They're very, a lot of respect for each other, but they're not required to be best mates. So there's a healthy respect.
Is there any jealousy?
I think there's envy. So envy is kind of wishing maybe sometimes that one has what the other has. So I have a wonderful domestic life and I'm fully available to my family. And maybe my boyfriend envies that sometimes, but my husband envies the adventure and spontaneity that I have with my boyfriend.
Because you do talk about that and say that perhaps at some point you are going to have to readdress the relationship with your boyfriend because your boyfriend's long-term goals are to have a family and have children, and that's something you couldn't do.
Yes, I was very clear about, what I could offer him at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think setting expectations at the beginning of every relationship should be something everyone does.
Yeah.
So for our relationship, I entered into it knowing that it would probably have to end someday if he finds someone that he wants to have a family with. And that's okay because we can have something beautiful and special and it doesn't have to last forever.
So is he having relationships with other people while he's your girlfriend?
Boyfriend.
Boyfriend, sorry, yeah. Is he having... Yes,
it's complicated.
It is.
It's complicated.
Does Robert have other partners?
No, he doesn't.
So he's monogamous with you?
Yes.
So you're the only one that's having the cake and eating it, and having two...
I'm kind of the hinge between these two relationships. Yeah, that's right.
How would you feel if he does go and find somebody? Would that be difficult for you? Because it feels like if you've been together 5 years, there must be a lot of emotion and connection there.
Absolutely. I think I would feel, sad about it and maybe sad about losing something special. But I've always known what he's wanted. And I just want the people I'm with to feel loved and happy and free, the same way I am.
So you want people to feel loved and happy and free, but your daughter is 12. So she must have some idea of certain things, but obviously not others. How do you handle that, and what conversations do you have with her?
Well, she's always known, for example, that I sleep over at Robert's house once a week. And she had a working knowledge of sleepovers from the time she was about 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So she understands a sleepover is something fun that we do. And when I left for Robert's, she would say, well, have fun. And I would say, well, I will.
Yeah.
And the next morning when I came home, she'd be like, did you have a great time? And I would say, yes, I did. But like any other parent, the details of my intimate life are not for children.
Yes.
So she has an understanding of what's going on. The most important thing is that she sees me and my husband love each other. Like she sees that every day, and that provides a solid, secure foundation for her. And we sat down with her, you know, when the book was sold, and I knew things were going to become public.
Yes, of course.
I wanted to stick the label on it and tell her, you know, from me, this is what's going on. And her answer, I'm not going to give it away because it's chapter 14 in the book. You know, what do you tell your daughter? But her response surprised me. And children are so wise and understanding when they have that secure foundation. And we've done our best to create that for them.
And how about your family back in the Philippines? Because, of course, as you said, it's a very, very strict country when it comes to relationships. How have they reacted?
I'm really lucky to have a wonderfully supportive family. My sister's in the studio. She flew in from Manila to be here. And my mother, you know, I lost my father when I was really young. So my mother's always been really present for me, very compassionate, and I've always felt unconditionally loved. I think she didn't really know what to call it, but she kind of figured out that something was going on. And so when I told her a couple of years ago that I was in an open marriage, she said, do what makes you happy, and everyone in your life should be in your life for you to be more of yourself. And you will know when it's time to let go. You will know you know what's best for you. You're an adult. And I just felt, you know, so accepted and loved. And I'm really lucky in that.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. It's a fascinating subject.
It really
Thank you
is.
for sharing.
And thank you for being so honest
Absolutely.
too. Yeah.
Deirdre's here. She's been listening in. Deirdre, it's amazing listening to Deepa speaking so openly and honestly and sharing it with her family. I wonder what you make of their scenario and how it works for their marriage.
Well, I'm really glad it works for Deepa, people tell me that the book is just the most amazing read, but I'd be really worried about other people thinking that this is the way to go if what you need to do is sort out tensions and problems within your own relationship. It's funny, when I heard about Deepa's story, I must say I did think, is this part of her that just worries about trusting all her feelings to one man? And it's only now that I've just learned that actually she lost her father when she was very young. That may not just be a coincidence. So what I'd say to anybody who's thinking of going down this road is do at least first consider having counselling for your relationship, exploring the other options, sharing your feelings with one another, because it's not an instant solution. And I'd worry about the effect on children. You know, I mean, her daughter is just 12, so she's not into the teenage years yet. These are very difficult things to explore. So, I mean, I'm really happy if this is working out for Deepa, but it's not what I'd say is a way to go for everyone.
And imagine you'd agree with that as well, to be fair.
Absolutely. I agree. It's not for everyone, but it's all about finding what works for you, what fulfills you, and never thinking you're too much, because someone will love you for just how you are.
Yeah.
Oh, hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.
Our first guest today managed to pull off the ultimate illusion and fooled some of the world's greatest magicians.
Now then, back in 1991, Sophie Lloyd became the first female member of the Magic Circle, despite only men being allowed to join at the time. The question is, how did she do it? By posing as a man during her audition.
Oh, wow. I haven't seen that yet. That's amazing. She managed to keep the Magic Circle fooled until she revealed her true identity and promptly got kicked out.
After vanishing without a trace, she disappeared for more than 30 years. Until now, we're delighted to say that Sophie is here to tell her story alongside the first female chair of the Magic Circle, Laura London. Good morning to both of you. It's lovely to have you here.
Morning.
Sophie, you're a hard person to track down.
Yes.
You went missing for 30... You didn't strictly go missing, of course, but you went missing for 30 years, and Laura has managed to drag you back in. I mean, Laura, it's an extraordinary story, this now. You are the first female chair of the Magic Circle. Can you explain, just in case anybody doesn't know, what the Magic Circle is and why it exists?
Well, of course. Well, the Magic Circle is a magic society that's been around since 1905. So, in fact, this year we're celebrating 120 years with lots of celebrations and events, which is amazing. I mean, but of course it's changed, it's evolved in all of these, the times that we've had over these decades, to a place now where we have this incredible building in the heart of London where magicians all come together, where every Monday they learn magic and come to see lectures and shows, and you can also come and see events. So it's a really special place. And I mean, it's always been a special place. We've got 1,800 members, with our latest being Sophie Lloyd, of course. And
I bet you
it's a place where magicians can learn magic and get together and share.
But getting into the Magic Circle isn't easy.
Really
It's
tough.
still very strict, isn't it? What are the criteria?
Well, it's incredibly hard. Of course, you have to do an exam in front of examiners. You perform magic. You are judged, or you are scored based on your presentation and skill. So you have to have both of those in spades to pass. And well, we know someone that managed to do that. So yeah, it's not an easy thing to get into. And and as a consequence of that, all the magicians that get together share really, really extraordinary magic.
Yeah. So, Sophie, how did you first get into magic, and what made you want to be a part of the Magic Circle?
Well, I came to London from Devon, where I was staying at the time, and I went to mime school in Hammersmith, and I met a magician who was there at the same time. And we got very, very friendly with each other. I mean, a dear friend. And she desperately wanted to get into the Magic Circle, but they just wouldn't let men in. Anyway.
Because it was only men allowed back then?
Yes, only men in the night. Yeah, only men. And so Jenny one day said to me, and this is not to do with this particular thing, she said to me, you know, I've got an idea. You could play, would you like to be my assistant?
Right.
And I thought, oh, yeah, that's good. I was a young actress, you know.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, you know, it was all dazzle then in the 80s and 90s. So I thought, yeah, I could do that, you know. I really thought,
Stars in your eyes.
Oh, I loved it. And she goes, oh, no, it doesn't work that way. Oh, no, I'm going to, no, men have women and women have men. You're going to be male. And I went, oh, okay.
And so you were disappointed about the idea of having to play a male character?
But yeah, I was actually. And so I went over initially to play Claude, not seriously. I had an island wig and we did show after show after show. Went on really well, took it all over London. And then she said to me, I've got the most wonderful idea. You could play my little boy. And I thought, oh, yeah, I could do that. It's easier to play a boy anyway. And so, small, etc. But we still had to do the pretense of getting a body made, you know, the foam body, you had plumpers in those days on braces to pull out your face, because I was in my 20s.
Yes, okay, yeah.
To look younger in a proper wig, not a nylon one this time, etc. Anyway, looked really, really good. And then we were doing a gig, and she took this boy everywhere. Went to Hippodrome, went to Stringfellas, even so much that we actually went to, and she said to me, you know, why don't we go to a children's agency and say how good you are? And I mean, it's a big one. And I went, oh, I don't know. Yeah, okay, let's go for it. And they totally loved it. The little boy did, he was 12, he did.
And they all thought you were a little boy?
Oh, yeah.
No one at any point?
Absolutely not.
So when did the idea to take Timmy Potter, I think was the name of the character, right? When was the idea to get Timmy Potter to audition for the Magic Circle?
Right, how it happened was, they actually took me on the books. And
the child's agency?
Yes, 3 weeks later, but obviously I didn't, couldn't do that because of no. But anyway, and then she was really impressed with that. That was it. She thought, wow, this is brilliant. So we did a gig. I was staying over one night, banged on my door and said, I've got the most amazing idea.
She had a lot of amazing ideas, didn't she?
And I went, oh, no, not another one. She said, you can play 18. And I said, well, there's no way I play 18, come on, the voice, etc. No, you don't understand. I never understood anything. And so anyway, we can do this. After a lot of talking, I became Raymond.
Oh, so this was the alter ego that then went on to audition for the Magic Circle.
Yep.
So what did you actually have to do, and how long did you keep the subterfuge up for?
This is much more complicated because we took it really quite serious, this one. It took 18 months. We had to completely transform him from a child, back to the wig makers again. and we had an older wig made for an older child.
Yes.
You know, an 18-year-old for that era. We had to work on his kept the glasses, actually, didn't change that. But the plumpers had to be changed. And they're on braces, a bit of plastic either side, and you put them on. But this had to be more elongated.
It's significant. I mean, you're not just walking in and you're really going to town on the whole look and the feel. So how did you feel when you auditioned? Because getting into the Magic Circle, as we've just been discussing, is not easy.
No, it wasn't. And also we had to have a new body made because it had a more older body and I wore gloves.
And then
to disguise your hands.
Yes, with a little boy, you didn't have to do that.
Does that make magic trickier, though, because you've got gloves on?
And what about your voice, Sophie?
Well, that was it, you see. It was a silent act done to the entertainer, the piano rag music.
Of course, Scott Joplin.
Yes, that's right. I have that as a ringtone on my phone.
Still now?
Yeah, even now. Don't I? And, that was much harder. The actual... Jenny taught me for 18 months and she was amazing. It's all Jenny's idea.
Yeah.
I mean, and I have to say, she was a brilliant magician. She worked with many top magicians.
She sounds like a proper mastermind as well.
She does.
It was all Jenny's idea, yeah. And we did Jenny did the whole routine. She played my manager that went to she's brilliant, actually. It was a 20-minute routine. And you could either choose your own venue or you could do it at headquarters. And we thought, no, we do our own venue. And we performed in front of 200 people and 3 examiners. Yes. And it all went well.
Wow.
And you got in?
Yeah. Well.
The laryngitis.
Oh, yeah. And it all went, we did a lot of sleight of magic and big pyrotechnics, which was my thing at the time. I love pyrotechnics. Couldn't do that now because you couldn't. But at the end, they just wanted us to... I didn't expect this. I just think they said, oh, no, that was okay, let you know. Oh, no. Jenny said, oh, no, we've got to go out and talk to him. I said, I can't. She said, just do it, only be a few minutes, have a bad throat. And I went, oh, it's really bad throat. I'm really, really sorry about this. Anyway, he brought me a pint.
Amazing.
And it went on 1 hour and 3/4.
Chatting to him
The
with a bad
level of
throat.
subterfuge.
So you've got in, you've fooled them all, which must have been fabulous. But then when eventually they decided they were going to let in women and you explained finally you could reveal the fact you were a woman, what was their reaction?
That was disappointing. I mean, I wasn't too bothered, but Jenny was mortified. When she found out that women were actually being let in, she gave them actual... I don't know how she did it. I think it was just a telephone, actually, call. And she said to me the next day, well, that didn't go well. Anyway, we left it because she was so excited. She knew these people. A lot of them were her friends. And she said to them, she thought they were going, oh, you're so clever, Jenny.
Yeah,
and
of
all
course.
this, that, the other. And it was so different. 3 days later, we got a letter to say, right, you're expelled. And she was so upset.
Oh.
And we went to a convention as me. I never went as me. I wore a blonde wig as Sophie and always went differently. And they snubbed her. But however, things have changed. We're going back 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It's so different.
And now, Laura, things have changed. And now women can be let in.
Well, of course, yes, in 1991, they let women in. I was 8 years old when I fell in love with magic, but I'm very grateful to the fact that when I started discovering magic, women were allowed in. So I didn't really know any different. I can't imagine what it was like for someone like Jenny, who couldn't get in, who was going around doing extraordinary magic.
Yeah.
In fact, Jenny even performed at the headquarters in 1999 for the members on a members' night and got a letter, which I've seen, that says, thank you for such a brilliant show. The members loved it. So, yes, it's changed because I can't imagine what that was like being her. And now, though, we're such an inclusive, different place. I mean, I should say we actually snuck Sophie in before the big reveal on a members' night, and we put her in the corner, and when any members came over, we said, oh, meet our friend Raina. Nobody suspected a thing, which was amazing. Now, of course, it's very different. Everyone knows who she is.
And
in
she's
fact,
back where she should be.
yesterday we took her to a members' night, and she was there as a full member of the Magic Circle.
The star of the show.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Well, look, thank you both for joining us. You're going to do a trick for us. We've run out of time a little bit, so what we're going to do is we're going to record the trick in the break, and then we'll put that on the app so you can see the trick that we were going to have here. But unfortunately, because it's such an incredible story, and we've told it so beautifully, we've run out of time. But thank you so much for coming in.
Oh, pleasure.
Thank you.
It's absolutely fine. It's a pleasure
Thrilled
to
that you're
see
back in where you should be as
Thank
well.
you.
It's really lovely.
Thank you.
And we'll try and dig out and put it on the app, your original appearance on This Morning, all those
Yes,
years
that'd be
ago. I thought
wonderful.
That'd be really lovely.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
having us.
Hello.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.
Joining us now is Carol and Stephen's daughter, Ellie, who was accused of her parents' murder, alongside the case's senior investigating officer, Detective Inspector Lydia George. Good morning to both of you. Thank you for coming on the show. Ellie, I'm going to start with you. We've watched the documentary. It's incredibly powerful. But right from the very beginning, you can tell what a lovely house you grew up in and how much you adored your parents. What were they like? The scenes of you dancing with your mum, and she was so full of life.
Yeah, she really was. She was a very bubbly, outgoing person, and she just loved to live. You know, they were both very strong, willful people, and yeah, it was just, they were lovely. They were really lovely.
So when did you first meet Luke, you and the rest of your family?
Yeah, we first met Luke. He was actually introduced by a friend. Mum had her own business, and he was an IT whiz, and he actually was hired to help with the IT side of my mum's business. So that is how we initially met him.
So it became part of your parents' life and all of your lives. And then your mum's health deteriorated significantly, didn't she? She had a strange condition that really affected how she lived, didn't it?
Yeah, she had the condition anyway, but the understanding of it is as she got older, her going through hormonal changes then affected the condition. So that was kind of the understanding that he led us all to believe. So yeah, and then it just went downhill from there.
And she got progressively more and more poorly. The condition seemed to really take a hold of her. And then she started communicating with a person called Dr. Andrea from the States. How did that happen?
So once again, I mean, I obviously too was manipulated. So my understanding of that is that my mum had reached out to a doctor, and then a year or so later, she then got back in touch. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. Whether it was just an email and that's how that started, I'm not sure. But she was a doctor that specialises with thyroid issues, and yeah, it just it was a massive relief actually to have someone to be able to help us navigate this condition.
And this doctor was offering guidance all the way through on what your mum should be doing, how she should be moving. Like literally, it was governing every part of her life in the hope that it was going to sort of help her with the condition, the thyroid condition that she was struggling with.
Yeah, it was everything, you know, how much rest she got, what types of food she would eat, how much sugar she would consume, her social interactions, just absolutely everything.
And her condition progressed really quickly, didn't it? Like, what was she like, your mum, in the later stages when your dad, Stephen, was taking care of her?
So it was about a good year and a half, 2 years of her slowly getting worse and worse. And by the end of it, I mean, she was out of it. She couldn't speak, she couldn't communicate properly. She was very uncomfortable. She was itchy. She was in quite a lot of pain. You know, and she was just absolutely stripped of her life.
And she was really desperate, and so was your dad too.
Yeah, I think we all were. We had no idea how to help her get better, and it was really sad to see someone you love deteriorate like that.
And it got to the point where early on the 9th of April 2023, you went round to your parents' house. You hadn't been in touch with them. You hadn't been able to get in touch with them for a couple of days. You're getting a little bit worried. What happened that day when you got to the house?
Well, I actually went round the day before, and my dad, I was there most days, and my dad said he wanted a bit of a break, and I've got a young family, so I said, of course, and I drove past the house, and everything just looked normal. The blinds were down, and by the next morning, I still hadn't heard from them. I drove past the house again, and the blinds were still down, and my dad would methodically get up and do that. He'd do that ritualously. And that is when I knew something was wrong. And I got out of the car, went round the back of the house, and yeah, I saw mum and dad both there. It was very obvious to me that they had passed. The skin discoloration, and it was really, really horrible. And the house was locked. I couldn't get in. So we ended up smashing our way in. Yeah, it was very traumatic, to be honest.
In the documentary, it's such a striking moment, Ellie, because we can on the CCTV footage you can hear you screaming, trying to get to them, trying to wake them up.
Yeah.
And you keep saying she's done something really stupid. What was your concern?
Well, at that point with her illness, she was getting very confused. I mean, at one point she was ironing my dad's shirt on top of the stove and, things like that. She'd put bleach, in a cup of tea and, she was just, all the signals in her brain were just getting completely mixed up. So my first thought was like, oh my gosh, she's cooked something and they've ingested something. And, I really thought that it was a mistake that she'd done.
Mm. And then you were actually one of the suspects. In the initial kind of investigation, you were a suspect and so was Luke.
Yeah, no, that is right. That was certainly another interesting day.
And then when you took over, what was your kind of thinking?
So I came in on the bank holiday Monday. I was on call and I read the incident over the weekend and nothing about it seemed right. Two people don't die like that together.
No.
So there had to be a reason why they died, which was my job to find out and to find the truth. So following the post-mortem at the scene, there was, as I said, there was no signs of forced entry, obvious signs of suicide, and their bodies were unremarkable. It was quite a long wait to get the toxicology back, 12 weeks. And then when that came back, there was a fatal dose of fentanyl in Stephen Baxter's blood and a fatal dose of fentanyl in Carol's blood and also a double fatal dose of promethazine in Carol's blood. So at that time, that was the obvious cause of death and why they died, but it was then trying to find out how and why. How
it had been administered, who had actually done it. Was it an accident that had been performed? As Ellie thought maybe her mum had done something because she, in her confused state. So as the senior investigating officer, you're trying to coordinate all of this and get into the evidence of what might have happened. It was at this stage, Ellie, I think you discovered a letter, didn't you? Because at the time, this Dr. Andrea was still controlling things. This Dr. Andrea, who had been governing and guiding your mum's life for such a long time, had just sort of such a pervading sense of control over all of you in a way.
Yeah, so I actually found the letter, and actually it's only recently I've realised I was actually manipulated even into finding the letter because there was another fake persona named Jenny that I was in very close contact with, and I had told her that my parents had passed away, and she said, right, well, this is what you need to do. My husband's parents, like when his dad died, this is what we've done. You need to go through and get a bank account number for all of the banks. You need to go through and get all this and that, and it was in the banking folder that I had found this fake will. So even that decision, it actually did stem from Luke himself again,
So it took you 3 months to get all the blood work back, and then you started going through all the technological side, the tech side of Luke's kind of phones, his computers. What did you start to find?
So I don't know how he had time to sleep. We'd seize like 18 phones, numerous laptops, and going through all the digital evidence was just a task initially. Before we had the toxicology, we had Dr. Andrea Bowden and these different people, the solicitor of the will, and we were trying to get in contact with them. And I guess where we were emailing him and trying to get in contact, we were obviously contacting Luke, not knowing it was him, and he wasn't replying. It was only until sort of a bit later on, as we were going through stuff, that the sort of penny dropped, and we realised that actually he posed as many different personas, and there was so much sort of that was intrinsic to each bit of the investigation. It took a really large team to try and understand, all the lies, manipulation. As Ellie said, she was just as much of a victim as her parents.
Must have been absolutely extraordinary, though, Ellie, and amongst all of this, that you were one of the suspects as well. Until Lydia and the team could finally start unpicking what it was that Luke had been doing, to have that glare of suspicion on you when you'd been so devoted to your parents must have been horrendous.
Yeah, I was about 7 months pregnant when I got the knock at the door. And it just, it was, hang on, I'm being arrested for one. And then it was, when they said, you're being arrested on suspicion for the murder of Carol and Stephen Baxter, where'd you even go? And it took a few minutes. It was like, hang on, wait, murder? That means they have been murdered? And then it was just slowly piecing it all together. And I think when I found Mum and Dad, I've never felt an emotional pain physically hurt so much, and it really, really affected me. I was early pregnant with my daughter, and it really did, hurt my body. And I think I just went into that protection mode, and I just needed to not let myself get too hysterical.
And one of the most painful things I was reading in the paper today, that you've had to move away from the area you live because that cast of suspicion is still on you. One of the things that's most important about the documentary, because lots of people respected this Luke DeWitt within in the area. People liked him. They knew he wasn't. They're still suspicious that it was you and not him.
Yeah, even still, I mean, you know, if I go into the shop, you know, people do look away and, you know, all that type of thing. And it's now I just kind of want everything ruled out. It's always the people that are saying that are still suspicious that did not go to the trial and didn't attend and, you know, and won't listen to the facts. And I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, you know. No. So we shall see.
It's an extraordinary case. Did we ever, or do you think you ever got to the bottom of why he did it?
In all honesty, only he knows why he's done it. You know, initially we thought it was a financial motive, which it wasn't.
Because the fake will was just useless. I mean, it was your child could have written it.
Absolutely. You know, it was, as Ellie said, it was. I just think it was a sadistic pleasure, control, manipulation. You know, I don't know how long he'd pre-planned this. Like I said, only he will know. But it was a long campaign against them.
Well, look, I hope it brings you some closure, Ellie, particularly with those people that still are suspicious of exactly what happened. Because the first episode of Essex Millionaire Murders airs tonight on 9 o'clock on ITV1 and is on ITVX now as well. It's an extraordinary, extraordinary two-part documentary. Thank you for sharing the story.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.
Only in America.
It's all good fun, isn't it? Joining us now, the man with the world's fastest sperm, Tristan Milker, and the guy who came second, Asher Proger. Good morning, guys. Good morning. First of all, I should say congratulations, Tristan. How does it feel to be the champion?
Thank you. I mean, I feel amazing. It's a record that nobody else has ever held before, so I'm proud to wear that on my belt. It's going to be a great thing to put on my resume.
And Asher, commiserations. Sadly, your sperm just wasn't up to it in the end.
Sadly, it was not. I think I need to do more training, take it more serious, you know, maybe rework my approach, but...
Okay, so tell me something. How were you two selected to represent?
Yeah, I can start. So there was a man named Dick Gay, which is a leader of the company. He's kind of a person that was putting forward the efforts to, you know, get everybody to this event and with marketing and everything. He came to my door and he knocked and he asked me if I wanted to be a sperm racing athlete. And I thought he was insane. Yeah. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was a joke, but I did a little bit more research and I talked to him a little further and found out about the rapidly declining fertility rates, not in just America, but worldwide. And I realized this is a real issue that we need to talk about. And I wanted to better myself. So I inhabited a lot of really great new habits for myself. I started eating a lot better. I started taking care of myself more. And, you know, it worked out well for me.
So I mean, there is a very serious point behind this, but of course it makes for thoroughly entertaining viewing and hearing all about it. Asher, I mean, what was your reaction when you were approached and how did you get into shape for the big race?
So my experience was similar. I had the same man come up. He's dressed in a suit, might I add, and he's like 6'7", which makes it even more intimidating and funny. But he came and he offered me a challenge, and it basically was, I'll just say it was a challenge, all right. And if I could complete the challenge, I was allowed to be the sperm racer because it showed I was really on fire and I wanted to be a sperm racer. So I thought it was insane, but he said he would Venmo me money right away. I did the challenge. He Venmoed me the money and I realized it was legit. So then I joined and I started getting in shape in more of a, you know, I started taking supplements and stuff. But other than that, I already was working out, eating clean, making sure I got to bed on time, all that. So I didn't change all that much, but I did definitely start taking supplements I hadn't before.
So what you're saying is this actually is a professional sport because you both got paid money to donate and to take part in the race, didn't you, Tristan?
Yeah, we got money every single week in order to enhance our biometers. So that means, you know, buying correct foods that are rich in zinc, antioxidants, you know, going to the gym every single day. I got a dietitian by my side. I had personal trainers. This is a real professional sport. And I know it sounds very silly, especially to people that haven't heard about it. You know, I've become a little bit desensitized to it, but it is a real thing that you can train for. The more healthy you are, the more healthy your sperm is.
And what about, can we just talk, well, two things. What was it like watching your sperm race? Because we were watching this, they've sort of AI'd it up a bit, haven't they? They've gamified what actually was happening to make it more engaging to watch. But what was that like, Asha, for you guys, watching the sperms race along that track?
Well, I'll say for me, it was very terrifying after that first one because I was like, am I about to get slimed? Like, am I about to get covered in this $2,000 racing suit I just got? But we didn't know exactly what it would look like. So it was very, we didn't know who would win, obviously. It was completely real. We don't know what it looked like. So when they came really close and then tied and his barely beat mine, that was intense, I will say. But it was basically a live rendering of the actual sperm positioning on a racetrack. And then they took that data and transmade it in through like Unity or through Unreal Engine or whatever. And that's where we see the animation.
I mean, I love the two of you eyeballing each other at the same time and the drama of it. What's the prize you win? Do you win, is it just bragging rights essentially, or do you win a prize?
I mean, I get to brag all day long to my school, but I also won $10,000.
Wow.
$10,000?
Well, look, congratulations to the two of you. You've properly entered into the spirit of it, which is hugely important, and it is a bigger subject as well. And we thoroughly enjoyed meeting you both. Best of luck for next year. Asha, maybe if you put a bit more hard work in, your sperms might be up to it.
Hopefully. That is entirely the goal. We want to make this a sport, so we're going to have tons more races. We don't know exactly when the next one is, but I will be training hard. Hopefully they'll let me compete again. I don't know what Tristan's future holds, but his is probably bright as well.
Well, unquestionably, he's got super fast sperm. It's very bright. Thank you both for joining us. We're in the studio now, joined by Britain's foremost authority on men's fertility, urologist Jonathan Ramsey. Jonathan, thank you for joining us. I mean, it's thoroughly entertaining for us to talk about, to laugh about the nature of this, but there is a really serious point to what they've done, isn't there?
Well, there is, and I think they're to be congratulated for actually doing it, because men are typically reluctant even to talk about their fertility, let alone to enter into a sperm race. So I think these two guys are to be congratulated, and they've brought awareness, because awareness is really the first stage of trying to correct something that may not be quite right.
And fertility rates have dropped. Why is that?
Well, they have, and there's been a huge amount of scientific argument. And like many scientific arguments, there are the protagonists and the antagonists. The more famous you are, the more likely you are to take a didactic stand. But I think we can probably all agree at this stage, after a great deal of research, that sperm counts are declining worldwide. Now, whether this actually impacts on fertility rates is a separate and consequential argument.
There are some myths about this as well. It was interesting hearing Tristan and Asha talk about the fact that they didn't really understand that there was lots of things that they could do to improve the speed and the robust nature of their sperm. But can we run through some of these myths, and you can either bust them or explain why they exist? Is that all right? OK, firstly, alcohol. If you consume more than 14 units a week spread across 3 days or more, that will affect your sperm.
I think we can say yes.
That is true.
And there is a linear relationship. So the greater the intake, the more the effect.
Men who've had children remain fertile forever?
Oh, that's certainly a myth.
Really?
I think we, the blokes, Ben and I and the boys, should start thinking that probably biologically it's not dissimilar from women.
Right.
So from our late 30s onwards, we may be becoming less fertile, because it's not only the sperm that wins the race, but the quality of that sperm. What happens to him when he's say won the race? Is he going to produce a decent embryo and offspring?
What about stress? Stress can ruin your sperm.
Crikey, that's a difficult one, because it's so difficult to measure stress itself, and then to relate that to a variable biological phenomenon, which is a sperm count.
Yes.
But if you ask me what I think, it would be unlikely if it didn't, because all those stressor hormones are not great.
This is an old wives' tale, but I do know plenty of friends who've actually done this.
Tried it.
You're more likely to get pregnant if you conceive with your legs in the air.
Oh, that's a wonderful one. Myth, certainly a myth. I mean, what that sperm race actually showed was that these little chaps move very quickly along a pretty short trajectory, which is in nature from the top of the vagina to meet the egg as it crosses the fallopian tube. So actually, these little chaps get on with it fast, and where your legs are won't make any difference.
Did it work for your friends?
Some did, but again, it's just probability.
It was worth trying.
Yeah.
And one last one. Boy sperm and girl sperm swim at different speeds.
So behind that is whether you get more or less boys or girls, depending upon what you do. In nature, biologically, that doesn't seem to make any difference. You get the same number of boy babies as you get girl babies. If you do something in the lab, though, you might be able to detect a difference in how they move.
You spin it or something.
Well, the girl ones might be a bit heavier. Yeah, because the X chromosome is a bit bigger than the Y.
Right. Okay.
Of course.
I could chat to you.
I thought it was that the girls swam a lot faster, but they tired out longer, and the boys would. So it was more of a marathon for the boys, and so if the girls eventually got tired, the boys would get there to the end.
Like the Joel Dommett.
I'm not sure you just compared Joel Dommett. That's one character we haven't seen on the Marked Singer yet, isn't it?
That X chromosome, it's in control.
Always. Jonathan, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Jonathan. It was lovely to chat to you.
As fun as that has been, it is a really serious subject, and I'm glad we could talk about it.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.
Our next guest, 86-year-old Janet, was caring for her husband, a dementia sufferer, when she received a phone call that would change her life forever.
The person on the line claimed to be a police officer, and what followed was a very sophisticated scam, leading Janet unknowingly to handing over £43,000 to fraudsters.
Janet joins us now to share her story alongside her son Joel and Elaine Crate from the Senior Fraud Manager at Hertfordshire Police. Good morning to all of you. Thank you for coming. Janet, firstly, we're so sorry that you've had to go through this, but incredibly proud of you for feeling confident enough to come and tell your story, because I know it's not easy.
No.
Take us back to that phone call you got. It was April, I think, last year, wasn't it?
April the 14th. He called for 3 days, over a period of 3 days consecutively, 10:15 and 1 o'clock. He said he was calling me from Hammersmith Police Station to tell me that my card had been, somebody attempted to use my card the previous night at midnight to buy £94.72 worth of petrol, and from there they went to an Argos all-night store to try to buy furniture, but I was very lucky because my card somehow or the other would refused, and he didn't get away with that. After that, he said that the next phone call was the lunchtime the following day. He said that our bank account had been compromised and that £38,000 had been taken out and finished up being deposited in a bank in Germany. But he said that our bank had red flagged it, and that was where the police came on the scene, and they had managed to get our money back for us, and I wasn't to worry because it was in our bank account. At that point, he said, I suppose I ought to introduce myself, and I'm DC Harris, and I'm working with the fraud unit at Hammersmith Police Station, because that's where they do all the main fraud inquiries. And he said, we've got to, I'm going to tell you 2 names, and he gave me the 2 names, John Willocks and Derek Okalangu. Did I know these people? I said, no, I'd never heard of them. He said, well, they are part of a crime gang. They are targeting St Albans. They are targeting particularly vulnerable people like yourself. So I said, well, I've never heard of them. He said, well, we've got to try and find a way to catch these people. Actually, he said, they are in custody, these 2. But he said, we do feel that there is a 3rd accomplice, and we've got to try to trap this person. I said, right. he mentioned that second day that they were advising people to buy goods that were redeemable afterwards. So I said, oh. So he said, how would you feel about buying jewellery? Well, I had to give a wry smile. My husband had a friend that was a jeweller.
Really?
So the last thing in the world I needed was jewellery. But I said, well, what do you mean? How do you go about it? Previous to that, I had said, no, listen to me. I don't know who you are. I said, I know who you say you are, but you could be Uncle Tom Cobley or Doctor Who for all I know. Yes, he said, well, I tell you what we're going to do. When I finish speaking to you, you dial 999. We went through the charade of dialing 999, the operator answer you, you say, you speaking to DC Harris at
Hammersmith.
Hammersmith, and if they could reconnect you, he said, she should ask you for my badge number, which I'm going to give you now. So he gave me the badge number. I gave the badge number to the operator, and she then
Reconnected you?
Reconnected me to him.
Yes.
So I mean, it's extraordinary, the detail of this, and your retention of the detail is mesmerising.
You're amazing.
But we can already see how sophisticated this whole thing was.
Yeah.
Just going back to that, Janet, so you supposedly called 999,
I did.
you spoke to the operator.
Yes.
Thinking you were actually talking to a police operator.
Yes.
But you hadn't actually disconnected on the landline, had you? So he was in control of that
They'd
whole
hooked up
part
my
of it.
phone. And also, in the interim time, of course, he said, have you got a mobile? I said, oh, yes. I said, I don't use it, though. It's horrible. Well, we had the mobile thing, and he then rang me on the mobile, and he hooked up the mobile so I couldn't use the mobile to make an outgoing call.
So
and
somehow
he kept that line open all of the time. He spoke to me every time he spoke to me. All the time I was driving into town with my husband by my side. The phone was there.
Because the advice was that they suggested, in order to protect your bank account, to go and buy some watches.
That's right. He said, have you heard of Rolex watches? I said, everybody's heard of Rolex watches. You don't buy them, though. Oh, well, he said, did I know this particular jeweller's? Well, I'm a local girl, so I said, yes, I did. So he said, well, if you go down there, he said, have a look at their latest model. He said, and then find one that's a bit cheaper. He said that should come up to about £43,000.
Which was your life savings. That's what you had in the bank.
That was our dual life saving account.
Yeah.
I have my own account at Barclays, and David has his own account at NatWest.
Yeah.
But this was a savings account within Santander.
So you had to go to the bank and withdraw the money?
Yes. And we had to go and look at the watches first, which were amazing, you can imagine.
Yeah.
Then we made our way to the bank, and he did impress upon me that before you leave the jewellers, you must get their banker's details, so that when you get to the bank, the bank can make out the details for the money for the watches. So I said, oh, all right, OK. It's very difficult to get my husband about. He can't walk very well now.
Not very well.
But nevertheless, we went to the bank, and I said, it was extraordinary. When do you ever walk in a bank or a post office and there's not a queue? There was nobody in there, no other clients, no...
Just one of those quiet days.
No bank personnel walking around with a piece of paper in their hand like they normally are. No meter and greeter, no, nothing. So we walked up to the counter. The young man that served me was there on the left. He was in garb, in uniform. There was a man older on the right in a navy blue suit. But as we approached the counter, he disappeared and we never saw him again. We only ever saw...
The person behind the cashier, essentially.
Yes.
So then you withdrew the money, you went to Rolex, you purchased the exact models that were requested.
Yes.
You brought them back to your house, and then when you had them at your house, they sent a courier.
That's right. That's right. I got back to the car. I had to take my husband back to the car first because he couldn't walk any further.
Yeah.
Collected the watches. The young junior chap from the jewellers, the manager sent him with me because it's market day. He said, you can't take those through the market. They put them in a Tesco bag and a Marks and Spencer's bag, very old worn bag, so that people wouldn't recognise them.
To look ordinary,
I said thank you. I got in the car, and the scammer said to me on my on my mobile. Are you in the car now, Janet? I said, yes. He said, have you got the watches? I said, yes. He said, I expect you'd like to go home now, wouldn't you? I said, well, I need to because of my husband. I said, we've got an insulin injection to do now. I said, well, we must go home. So he said, I'll speak to you when you get home then. So we motored home, came in, kettle on, insulin injection. He was on the phone. And I thought, I haven't prepared any vegetables yet. I haven't got any dinner yet. I haven't done this and I haven't done that.
It's a very busy day. A very busy day.
So the long and the short of it is, because we could listen to you all day, and I think you could talk all day, which is wonderful.
We could just sit over there and we could stay for the rest of the show.
Told you I could talk for
I love it. I love it.
But I mean, the awful thing is, they sent this courier to collect the watches.
He had everything off pat. There was no way that he was going to let you off. So I would say to anybody else, you've got to think who you are. You've got to think what you would say, what you're prepared to do. And
when did you realise, though, Janet, that all of this had been a scam and that the watches had been taken and stolen by these scammers?
Not until he sent the courier, because, of course, he wanted me to go to Hammersmith, and I said, absolutely no way. The young boy came. He was only a juvenile.
So there's another person that's part of this scam, clearly.
Yes,
a young lad involved.
But he never spoke. No. He came to the front door and the scammer said to me, can you give him the watches now? But I'd like to speak to him. And he had a few words with the youngster, gave him the watches and off they went. Well, then, of course, I came back in and dinner was on the go and all of this. And then all of a sudden, there was nobody on the phone and I didn't have anything else to think of except what we were doing. And I thought, oh, wait a minute.
What have I done?
Yes, I haven't got my money. I haven't got the watches. The enormity of it just fills you up. And I just went numb. I couldn't think. And then I thought, don't be so stupid. This wouldn't happen. This is all right. He'll be on the phone in a minute telling you about he's got the watches and etc. etc. What's the next step we do?
Yes.
But of course, no telephone call came.
No.
And you at that point you just don't know what to do except what you've got to do, which is what I had to do with my husband. When you're a carer, that person comes first.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you've got to do what you've got to do.
Of course you do. And Joel, then you found out about it as well. How did you feel? Because obviously Janet has been completely bamboozled by this situation, but remembers she's so incredibly bright and articulate and remembers everything about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just devastating on all counts, really. And, you know, what I think's worse is, you know, Mum feels stupid in all of this. And
she didn't feel that, Janet.
That's, I guess, a natural reaction to why did I do this? How could I have been conned in this way? But the scammer was so convincing, pretending to be a police officer, you know.
It was so intricate as well. There's so many people
And when
involved.
I challenged him the second time and I said, look, I'm very uneasy about this. I said, you want me to go to the bank, take out our money, where to all intents and purposes it's safe. And he said to me, but it's not safe, is it, Mrs. Day? Because we told you had £38,000 deposited in Germany.
Oh,
and I thought, oh, no.
Elaine, you're part of the Senior 4 team at Hertfordshire Police,
Yes.
which is where Janet lives. It's a heartbreaking tale to hear someone as bright and as switched on and as eloquent as Kat says, as Janet, being scammed in such a sophisticated way.
Absolutely. I speak to thousands of, I hate to use the word victims, but victims of fraud. Hertfordshire Police, we have a bespoke fraud hub set up to, you know, contact anyone who has been scammed. And I met Janet last year and I'm privileged to have been part of her journey, but it's absolutely devastating. These scams are so elaborate. I always call them lazy burglars. They don't have to climb through a window. They can, you know, I get animated with my hands, get very excited about fraud, but they can, you know, make that phone call, trick you. It's absolutely devastating. So we're with Janet to get her through this and we'll be with her right to the very end. Yeah.
So do you have any really clear advice for anybody sitting at home who's watching this and going, well, Janet's so bright.
Yeah.
she was conned by it.
Yeah.
What would be your advice?
Number one, massive red flag. The police, please, whoever's kind of watching this, the police would never, ever ask you to, engage in an undercover operation. There's a problem with your bank account. They'd never ask you for your PIN number. They just don't operate like that. That's the same for banks as well. Anybody calling asking for personal information. They're actors. They play their part very well, and they're very convincing. I would suggest screen your calls. If you were to receive a telephone call and you do answer your call, answer your telephone and somebody's speaking to you, and they ask you to call back to 999 or call the bank back or whatever, then I would call the genuine bank or the 101 999 from another device if you have it. If you don't have another device, to make sure that that line has been cleared and they're not still on there, I'd pick up the phone, I'd dial a trusted friend. When you hear their name, then basically you know that line has been cleared. But just take 5 minutes, step back and think, right, look at it as if a stranger was coming up to you in the street and I was to come up to you and say, can I have a look in your wallet or your purse? You'd say no. Treat every phone call like that. Why do you want to know? Who are you? They're a stranger, you don't know them. But they're very convincing.
Yeah.
And like Janet said, the amount of victims I've spoken to, they have shame, they're embarrassed, they don't know who to turn to. And, we're here to support Janet, through everything. We have like a bespoke, we're not here as like an investigation point of view, but we're here to empower victims to know they can approach the bank to say, look, can you have a look at this? We've helped victims, and to date we've upped just under 5 million recovered just through empowering victims to approach banks.
So sadly for Janet, the Ombudsman has ruled that she can't claim the money back, or the bank don't have to give her the money back. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know what you made of that ruling.
Well, obviously, I'm not here to be disrespectful to any banking organisation or the Financial Ombudsman. What I would say, after speaking to thousands of victims since the Fraud Hub was established in 2019, with the evidence, that Janet has provided, what's happened to her, walking into a bank with her husband who sadly has dementia. On one hand, the scammers on the telephone in there withdrawing a lot of money. It's unusual transactions. Watch scams are prevalent. For me, basically, I think a red flag should have gone up there.
So Santander have said, we have every sympathy for the customer targeted by criminals who carry out these scams. Our investigation decision was not to refund Mrs. Day, which the Financial Ombudsman Service agreed with, found that the transaction Mrs. Day made on her Santander account was sent to genuine business and the watches were received as expected. And the Ombudsman said, being the victim of fraud or scam can be deeply distressing. Our decisions are based on several factors, including the evidence brought to us by both consumers and businesses, the relevant law or regulation that applied at the time. I wonder how you feel about it, though, Janet.
I feel very unhappy about it. I feel that I was made a victim by the scammer, I was made a victim by the bank, and I feel as though I'm a victim by the Ombudsman. I don't understand why the Ombudsman's report says he's satisfied that the bank did everything possible to avoid this, but the bank did nothing. There was nobody in the bank, only the young chap that went and activated the banker's remission. How can I prove that? There wasn't anybody there. So what investigation? Who said what? We don't know. We haven't been privileged.
Well, they'll argue they've been through the process, they've listened to all the evidence, and that's what they've come up with, which sadly is the way it is. The most important thing for our viewers, though, Janet, if you've been brave enough to come and share your story,
Absolutely.
so even if it helps one person listen to what Jane has said, and think about that. If someone phones, put the phone down, but try phoning someone else on another call. Speak to your son and say, "What do you think of this?" Or speak to somebody.
Give yourself some time. That's what Alice Beer always says about any scam. Just give yourself.
Get a call blocker. Forget the socks for Christmas. Get a call blocker. That's amazing. Put them on there. Family can have the codes to get through, and basically you've got peace of mind if you've got elderly family, not just elderly, but anyone. You've got peace of mind. They're safe and secure.
Thank you.
It's an amazing number of calls that are abortive, Joel, aren't there?
Yeah, so we have got a call blocker system that the victim support installed for us immediately after the event, and in the last 12 months, 67% of incoming calls are scam or unknown. With
67% shows how important they can be. Thank you for coming
on and drawing attention to it.
If you've been affected by any of the issues that we've been discussing today, and the help and guidance is available.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning.
They're made in Chelsea style. Louise Thompson spent years on the covers of plenty of health magazines.
But everything changed in 2021 when the birth of her beautiful baby boy Leo took a devastating turn.
Yeah, Louise suffered a traumatic labour that triggered a chain of catastrophic health problems, including almost losing her life twice.
As she bravely opens up about her experience in her best-selling book, Lucky, here it is. Louise is joining us now. Good morning to you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for
Lovely
having me.
to have you here on the sofa. As I was reading this, quite often within medicine and human beings, things go wrong. Obviously, we're just human beings and, you know, medical staff don't always get it right. But the catalogue of events that happened and the catalogue of things that went wrong to you, I don't know how you're sitting here describing it and how you write about it so eloquently.
Well, thank you. And I do feel very lucky to still be here.
Yeah.
Because there really was such a horrendous cascade of events, you know, taking it right back to the beginning. And as you say, I was one of the healthiest people I knew. I'd done the cover of Women's Health twice. It was my bread and butter. You know, I lived and breathed fitness, and I'd never really stepped foot into a hospital before. And then, yes, I gave birth to my son 3.5 years ago, and my world was literally turned upside down. I knew, you know, I think women know their bodies, and we have this intuition. And I really knew that the childbirth thing wasn't going to be a walk in the park for me. I have a very small body, my partner's very big, and I did have some anxiety around that. And I kept trying to advocate for myself, to speak up, to say, I really want to have a planned C-section. I'd been involved in a nasty house fire before giving birth, about a month out. And I wasn't feeling well. Like, it's tough. Like, childbirth is incredibly tough as it is. And being pregnant is very tough for women. We go through a lot. And I just felt like I wasn't listened to, and I had to jump through a lot of hoops, and there wasn't a great, you know, level of continuity of care. And so I was just met with a lot of resistance. And then I kind of succumbed to my fate, and I ended up not being able to deliver my baby naturally, and I ended up in theatre. And I think one of the most horrendous things about this whole experience, which is what has left me with a lot of lasting damage that I talk a lot about in the book, with all of the PTSD and also suffering with, you know, horrendous anxiety that's sort of brought into that, and depression too, was having to witness 3.5 hours of surgery awake.
Yeah.
I just wish that I had been put to sleep.
Yeah.
Because sadly, you know, I've had to have subsequent emergency surgeries, and, you know, it was only a week after I was then discharged home following that surgery without much of an explanation as to what had happened. I mean, it's a lot to process.
Yes, yes.
And then I had a massive obstetric hemorrhage 2 days later.
Which was
when
the second one you'd actually had.
Yes. So in the original surgery, I lost 3.5 litres, and then in the second, I lost 5.5 litres, which is a lot. I mean, I probably only have about 5 litres of blood in my body, given my weight. And it just, you know, it's crazy how long it can take to actually process all of it. But the book, for me, has been a big part of that. And there were times early on when I found myself, when I was finally discharged from hospital after spending a large chunk of time there, where I couldn't really function. I couldn't connect with my son. And I just didn't recognise my life. And writing for me was such a kind of cathartic process. And it was the only way I could communicate with people, really.
Yeah.
The interesting thing hearing you talk about what you have been through, there's a sort of irony to the fact that the book's called Lucky. You know, because he sounds anything but lucky. And I love the story about why you've called it Lucky. And actually that you're starting to appreciate the value of where you are and that you have Leo now and your life is still going and what you've been through, that maybe you do feel a bit lucky finally.
I do. And, you know, I've spent a bunch of time in hospital, and there are definitely people that are much less lucky than me. And I do feel really privileged to have come out the other side. You know, I have my working brain again. I can think straight. I've got an amazing relationship with my son. And so there are loads of hopeful messages in the book. I kind of go through the whole thing of I felt like I lost a lot of my old self, especially during those first couple of years throughout the recovery. And I've gradually been piecing the jigsaw back together, making sense of everything. And now, you know, it was, someone that I mentioned in the book, this guy, when we finally managed to get away on holiday. And this guy said, I sort of was just making almost a joke of like, everything that happened to me. And he was like, wow, you're really lucky. And if anyone had said that to me, even 6 months prior, I would have been actually quite upset. I was like, gosh, it completely reframed it in my head. You know, I live in this country, you know, I live close to a hospital, and I've had access to some incredible care and met some incredible people along the way. And it's opened my eyes. You know, my perspective on life is very different now. Like, you know, it's not the way that you want to have to learn those lessons about life, but yeah.
But I guess you do very much start to seize the day and appreciate friends and appreciate family. And I know that Leo is just gorgeous, and I'm guessing how much you absolutely love him now that you've got the PTSD under control, because that was one of the biggest things. And what I found so sad about the book was you managed to cope with all the physical stuff, and then mentally that took over, and little Leo was this living, breathing incarnation of reminding you of these terrible things.
Exactly that. I mean, it was awful that he was re-traumatizing me when I was at home and I was sort of in the same space as him, under the same roof. I just have memories now of, so a lot of it is a blur because your brain just tries to shut it out. But I have memories of just holding him and looking up, and as he was crying, and I would just look up at the sky, and honestly, I would just pray. And I'd go, take all of this pain away, like this mental and physical torture. But yeah, the mental stuff was a lot worse than, you know, physical. You can often fix a physical problem. You can diagnose a physical problem a lot more easily, but it was the mental torture that was really hard to grapple with, because you can't go in and get treated.
You can't fix it.
You can't fix it. So, you know, there are medications, and I did an awful lot of therapy, and I was considering going to a mother and baby unit and going to other facilities. But I think that would have just prolonged the recovery, because if I'd stepped away from my son, I might have got better on my own, like in my own kind of cold dog rabbit cell, and then going back.
You've had great support from Ryan too, I think, as well.
I feel very, very grateful to have a partner.
Yeah.
We spoke to Chelsea Westminster Hospital because obviously you've been through this catalogue of things, and this is what they said: the health and well-being of those in our care is an absolute priority. It's right that we recognise when this care doesn't meet the standards that patients rightly expect, and we learn from it. Patient safety and the quality of care we provide are fundamental to our maternity service. Our thoughts and best wishes are with Louise and her family. We're committed to working with all our patients, and we'll continue to work with Louise on supporting her and providing appropriate resources and guidance. So one of the things that's hugely important, I'm sure, for you is being able to share your experience, share it with the hospital, and also in the hope that other mothers and parents won't go through what you've been through.
Absolutely. And, you know, after everything happened, they did do an investigation, and I did manage to have a birth debrief with them. It took me 2 years to be able to feel strong enough to do that. And we kind of spoke through some of the things that happened and where they could try to improve the care. And, you know, there are some amazing people that I have a relationship with, and I actually am still under their care because I have other problems I've suffered with an inflammatory bowel disease, so I have a close relationship with the gastroenterologists there. So I was there only last week, and the colorectal surgeons. And so it's sort of a stark reminder every time I go in, but also you have to have this, you know, this like blind faith in these people that are also only human as well. And I think the thing that I've learned as well is that it's not personal. That's the thing. It's not, you know, somebody. It's not me against anybody, you know? It's so trying to remove the emotion from it. I'm in a place now where I think, okay, how can I just get myself back to, I'm here, I'm at A. If I want to be at B, how do I get there?
Just do it collaboratively. One of the things you've been lucky enough is to have is a fantastic family around you, and your little brother. I know, as irritating as he can be, I'm sure, growing up, he has been a real... Look, there you go. He's been a bit of a rock for you through this, hasn't he, Louise?
He has, and actually I'm so lucky that we do live next door to each other, because...
That's wicked.
Isn't it cool?
Yeah, I'd love to live next door to each other.
Well, yeah, that, but it throws old real quick for Louise.
Yeah, we barricaded the wall up in between, so there's no hopping over the fence anymore. Yeah,
that as well.
And he's got a key. Actually, he breaks in through... Anyway.
I'm sure he does. How's your relationship changed, actually? Because there are so many great big events here that happen. I'm guessing the dynamic between the two of you has kind of changed as well a little bit.
Yeah, do you know what? I mean, Louise is funny because I've just been over there doing the bunny ears to Louise when she's getting introduced, but And that's really the only way I know how to sort of like handle stuff when it gets to that level. And but it changed a lot, I think. You know, Louise is the bravest person I know. And to have that as my sister is nuts. You know, I've never met anyone braver. I think like no one will ever know the full stuff that Louise went through. And
That's true.
I think it was, I sort of welled up and actually cried a little bit where Louise had these little things dangling down from the ceiling in her house and little extracts from the book. And she was like, can you read the passage about you? And I was like, oh, okay, fine. And I read it, and she basically was like, he's become my big brother.
Yeah.
And
The dynamic shifted, didn't it?
that was terrifying, because it's like, oh no. But it's a weird thing when someone you love so much is in so much crisis, and who you become in that moment and stuff. And Louise's partner, Ryan, is the absolute rock to everything. And I actually remember when you had the hemorrhage, I was at the ITV Palooza. And my mum called me and was like, you need to get to the hospital now. And I actually snuck into the hospital, past all the guards and stuff, and just sat in a room with Ryan for like all night to find out whether Louise was going to survive. Like, it was nuts.
Well, because also, if you put yourself in that position, Ryan's there, he's got Louise on the operating table, he's got Leo somewhere else, and he's thinking that at some stage, and Leo wasn't very well when he was born either, so he's thinking he might go home from the hospital with nothing at all.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you handle that moment with him?
It's a weird one because you lock in.
Yeah.
You really, I've never been so focused in my life, actually, when it gets that bad, you really sort of like steer into a completely different phase of your being. I've never really had it before, and I hope to never have it again, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But you really lock in, you become laser focused. I wasn't that emotional, actually, to be fair. I was just literally just like so on it.
Yeah.
And I've never actually been like that before. And so Ryan was the exact same.
Essentially, Louise, he can be grown up if he has to.
Now I know.
Yeah, we don't want to be like that. But you know what, whenever
But then he would come and visit me and you'd just lie on the window ledge and you'd go, oh, I'm so tired. And I'd be like, thanks, Sam.
Yeah, I'd go and moan.
Exactly, it hurts and make you laugh even at that point.
Do you know what? I did feel like there was a time where Louise obviously was going through, you know, a lot in the hospital bed. I feel like sometimes she needs the Joker in there.
Yeah.
So I'd literally just open the door, like, hello, clown suit zipped up. And I'd sort of try and make her laugh a little bit, which was, everyone had a different role, I think, but just to have Louise sat here now is
it's lovely.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, we're the luckiest
It is.
family in the world just to have Louise still here. Oh, I'm going to cry. Yeah, we're very incredibly lucky.
And it's smashing to see your relationship. And this book is, it's a tough read, and you actually even warn the reader at certain bits, this is what's coming up, and I'm about to be very honest. But it's a great read too. Well done.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, guys.
And thank you for putting up with him.
Yeah.
I mean,
you had him a lot longer than we
can't
have.
pick family, can you? That's the
We
problem.
get to send him home at the end of the day, and he can't get rid of it.
It's
You're next door.
Yeah, he seems pretty busy at the moment.
Great to see
Thank
you,
you
though.
for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and we'll see you in the morning. And Heidi Marney joins us now alongside criminologist Professor David Wilson. When I watched that clip and when I watched the documentary, it was amazing, the different facets of this man's personality and almost like the armour that he built up. His character made him so deceptive. When did you first meet him?
So Rob and I share a family member. So although we aren't blood related, I saw him like an uncle.
Right.
So I'd known him for years.
And you always saw him as this good, kind man. He was kind of a pillar within his community.
Yeah.
Try and describe him to me. Paint the picture.
Well, I personally saw him as the kindest man you could ever meet. You know, when I gave birth to my little girl, he sent flowers to the house. He helped all of the community, you know. He literally took flood victims into his house. You know,
he was a councillor?
Yeah, he was a town councillor. He was in the parish council. You know, everybody loved him for what he did in the community.
It's amazing watching it, Heidi, because he was so well liked, so well respected, so well loved. He was so much a part of the community. He wasn't quiet about what he was doing. He was quite vocal about who he was.
Yeah, very.
I mean, and enjoyed taking sort of the prestige and the reflected glory and lots of things that were going on. So how did your relationship become that you moved in with him? What was the step that led to that?
So I'd seen on Facebook that he was advertising for a lodger, so he just had a room available. And I'd had a relationship breakdown. I'm very impulsive, so I just one day said, right, I'm leaving, and said, Rob, is it okay if I move in? I didn't intend to live there. That wasn't the idea. I sort of hoped that my ex-partner would come rescue me, essentially.
Sure.
But that wasn't the case. So I found myself there very suddenly. I acted on emotion. And then I realised this is my reality now. So I'll have to make the most of it and get my head down and find a home and a safe space for me and my daughter.
But it was safe and it felt comfortable and you felt like the right fit for what you needed at the time. There was something slightly strange, wasn't there, when you got there? Because he ran a computer shop where he used to fix local people's computers.
Yeah, I worked there for him.
So you worked there for him. And his house, there was tons of computer equipment everywhere, wasn't there? So even though he presented this very polished exterior, there was something else going on at home.
Yeah, he was a hoarder. There was everything everywhere. There was actually one room that had a huge living room, bedroom, bathroom that you couldn't even access for the computer databases and things there. Yeah, it was crazy.
And that wasn't the only red flag that started to show up either, because he did have this real front of deception, this outside appearance of being kind of, a pillar of the community. But there were other little red flags, either when he'd had a drink or he'd talk about hot tub parties.
Yeah. Yeah.
What were the red flags for you?
Just for me, so my daughter was living there with me too, and he would say things to her. She was only 1.5, and he'd say, I'm going to make it so good here that your mummy never wants to leave. And I'd think, you literally know that I'm saving for our house. Like, that's all I want. Why would you even say that? And then I was looking on Rightmove, and he was like, why are you looking at that? You can't even afford to leave, And I'd think, why are you mad at me for looking at a house? That's all I want.
Yeah, and you're just a lodger.
Yeah,
not
just
in a relationship.
lodger.
And there was that sense that he was projecting a relationship between the two of you to the outside world, that you weren't just his lodger, but there was something else going on, right?
Yeah, so it was very covert. So he would say things like, Heidi, would you like steak for tea? If we was in a farm
public.
shop. Yeah, and I'd think, you're giving off this energy that we're a couple, but it wasn't, obvious. So it wasn't like I could say, you're making me uncomfortable, because it was something he would say, I was just asking what was for tea.
But then there was a real moment where you'd gone out on a date and you'd walked down a road where you knew there was no chance of him driving past or knowing or whatever, and he knew where you were.
Yeah, so when I had mentioned about dating, because I'd had nearly a year off of it, he was very funny about it. So when I went on this date, I didn't tell him I was going where I was. And he texted me saying, weird, I swear I've just seen you in Leeds. And I thought, there's physically no way. I'd driven to an underground car park. There was no way he'd saw me. And so I immediately started to panic, like, you know where I am. How do you know where I am?
And then what did you find out? That he attached your phone to your computer?
Yeah, so because he owned a computer shop, I purchased a Mac secondhand, and he tracked me via my Mac. So it said, Heidi's MacBook tracked you, 2 minutes before he texted me.
So this starts escalating now. You realise there's something sort of seriously going wrong here.
Yeah.
So how did you move things forward from there, Heidi? How did you approach him about talking about this, and how did you discover the surveillance equipment as well?
So I basically confronted him about it. He said, I was in Leeds, and I said, well, you own a computer shop, can you tell me how my MacBook tracked me then? He basically denied it. I have a family member who works in the police. She said, he's acting like a jealous boyfriend. I see this in my job all the time. I want you to check for cameras. And so that's what I did, and that's what I found.
And you found cameras. What's that moment like, Heidi, when you realise there's cameras that were specifically designed not to show the red light, so you can't see them, and they've been recording everything? This was in the bathroom, in the bedroom?
It wasn't in the bedroom, no. It was just in the bathroom.
In the bathroom.
There was one in his bedroom now. But I froze, if I'm honest, because in that moment I thought, what happens now? Like, you are the town council. Everybody loves and adores you. I love you and adore you. Like, there must be an explanation for this. How can I accuse you of this? So I went full protection mode of him in that moment. Like, I can't I can't call the police.
Yeah.
So somebody did on my behalf.
Yeah. They seized all the evidence, they took him. Then he did a runner to Cape Verde.
Yeah.
He went off there too, but in the end he came back and he was convicted for 6 years.
6 years.
And for doing this to other women too.
Yeah, it was nearly 20 years, probably more, but evidence-wise, nearly 20 years, and there was 66 counts.
31 charges of voyeurism, 7 of computer misuse, 6 years and 2 months. It's an extraordinary thing, and thanks to your bravery and courage, and also waiving your right to anonymity, that this documentary has gone ahead, because there could be more victims out there. David, I mean, voyeurism, can you just explain a little bit about what the implication of voyeurism is and what it means?
Sure, but first, you are incredibly brave, and thank heavens that you did on behalf of all the other women who were suffering from what was happening. Voyeurism is a paraphilia, a fetish which is criminalised by the 2003 Sex Offences Act and the 2019 Voyeurism Act, which of course was introduced to prevent upskirting using mobile phones. And effectively, this is when it is usually a man that's a voyeur, as opposed to a woman. It's usually a woman who is the victim of a voyeur. And so this is when a man watches or records a woman who hasn't given her permission to be seen in an act which is essentially private. So when you're in your bedroom, when you're in the bathroom, when you're defecating. And so often the voyeur will pleasure himself in the act of watching, and sometimes records so that he can watch the recordings later at his leisure.
And quite often this is a kind of gateway offence almost, isn't it?
So we're really worried. So criminologists, psychologists are really worried that there could be a gateway between what would be seen as a non-contact offence, they're watching, and then making a contact offence, they're actually touching, raping, harming. And of course, we have some high-profile victims, Libby Squire, Sarah Everard, their murderers engaged in non-contact offending. In their case, it was indecent exposure, but then they go on to murder. Some voyeurs, though, are not interested in actually having a physical contact with the victims that they are spying upon, because that would bring with it complications. They would have to... What they're really getting off on, if I can use that phrase, is the idea of having power and control and manipulation. They know something about you that you don't know. So often that's really what's driving their behaviour.
I think the thing, Heidi, that struck me as well, because you have been incredibly brave to come out and do this documentary, but watching you talk about the emotional turmoil you went through when you realised what you were accusing him of. You were really worried about him. He had managed to control you in such a way that you had this amazing bond with him, that you felt like you had to protect him even though he was doing all these extraordinary things.
Yeah, I felt like I was ruining his life.
You were being groomed, Heidi.
Yes, 100%. I didn't realise that until afterwards, because over time it was like these little mini red flags, and I used to say, something's wrong, I don't know what's wrong, but it wasn't enough. How could I explain it? Little comments that you would say, people would think that I was nuts. So.
And David, the level of deception as well involved in this, it feels almost premeditated.
It was.
That he created this character.
Oh, yeah. You summed them up perfectly when you were posing questions to Heidi about, this facade of being somebody in the community that can be trusted. Remember, our most prolific ever serial killer was a trusted local GP. People who are going to offend are very good at creating a facade whereby they appear as if they're non-offenders. And all credit to Heidi, because one of the things that we've never been able to establish is how widespread this crime might be. Heidi had to fight to actually get her case treated seriously. So how many other women out there might be subject to this kind of behaviour?
So there's a saying that says, act in such a way so if anybody spoke bad of you, nobody would believe it. And I feel like that's what he did, because nobody believed me. Literally nobody. And he had an army of supporters. Even though I had physical evidence of what he did, he was still lying about it, making it awful about me.
It was extraordinary. Watching the documentary is fascinating, because when you hear the fellow counsellor talking about the fact that these things were happening and he still came to council meetings and led council meetings, just completely shameless.
Fronted it out.
How
are you now, by the way? I mean, we're thrilled that you could come in and would talk about this.
And bring your baby
documentary.
Yeah, I'm really well now. I just used it as a deep dive on therapy for myself. I quit alcohol, I've not drank in 3 years, and I've just literally worked on myself now. So I'm actually in a really good place, and I think that that's a message I'd like to get across. Like, you don't have to be a victim forever. You can use it as pain as power, really.
Yeah. We spoke to West Yorkshire Police. This is what they said. We'd like to thank the victims and survivors in supporting what became a significant and long-running investigation to unravel Holden's offending. At the time of the initial response, the scale of the investigation was not known. It wouldn't have been appropriate to speculate on who or may not have been a potential victim until the data had been reviewed and those individuals were identified. But thanks to your doggedness and relentless pursuing of that, a lot of those victims have got some justice as well. So,
Well
you
done.
have a lot to be very proud of.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in, David. Great to see you as ever.
Nice seeing you back.
You can hear more about this extraordinary story in the new documentary Peeping Tom, the Landlord and His Secret Cameras, which is available to stream right now on 5. Oh, hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning. And then being told that you've got a big mouth isn't necessarily always a compliment, is it?
No, not necessarily.
Unless it's the title you've always dreamed of.
Well, for Marie Pearl Zelma Robinson, the moment she'd been waiting for finally came this year when she was crowned with the Guinness World Record for the world's largest mouth gape for a female.
Look at that, that's 5
That's
Jenga
a
bricks.
mouth gape.
A mouth gape.
That's a technical term.
It's a decent-sized hole, isn't it? It doesn't only look impressive, but she can fit all sorts of things in there, which we're going to try and put to the test in a moment. Marie joins us live from her home in Alaska. Marie, thank you so much for staying up to talk to us. Good morning.
Good morning.
Firstly,
very early for me.
Very early for you, yeah, very early. Firstly, congratulations on becoming a Guinness World Record holder. It is quite something. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came to be named as having the biggest female mouth gape? How did you realise that this was a skill that you had that could necessarily be a world-breaking skill?
It's one of those things where you've always had it and you never knew you had it. So as a kid, I used to, put things in my mouth all the time because I had lots of siblings, 3 older brothers, 3 younger sisters. You do a lot of crazy stuff. And then I just kind of forgot about it. And then I used it once to impress a guy. We'd played some perfect Jenga games. So I stacked some Jenga blocks and said, see how much I can fit in. And then I forgot for like 20-ish years. And I keep track of the Guinness World Records. And all of a sudden, I knew that the guy had a record. I always was impressed by it. I was like, oh, I can never beat that guy. But then they came up with one for a girl. And she was actually going for a width. And they just happened to measure her height as well. And then I was like, I think I can beat that height. And so, sorry, mosquitoes, Alaska. So I got a measuring device and I tested it with a $1 bill because that's 2.5 inches high, which was her record. And then I went on to, go to my dentist and they measured it. And then the process went on from there until I could prove it and got myself a Guinness record.
So this is essentially your mouth gape here. It's the height that you can...
3 inches.
Yeah. We measured it very, very carefully to make sure it does, Marie, match exactly the gape that you possess.
Yes, then that would be accurate. That looks about right.
So you can put all sorts of things into your mouth to prove this, can't you?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I think we've got some footage of you with a 8-stack beef burger.
I think I went up to 10, actually. In that
10,
particular,
sorry, 10?
Yes, 10. I had 12, but I called it at 10 because I was squishing the bun a little too much.
Ow, have you ever hurt yourself doing this? Or is there any foods that you can't eat because your jaw is so wide?
No, actually. It doesn't hurt at all. I've never had any issues. Like, I've never had my jaw tighten up. I've never dislocated it or anything. I haven't really thought about not being able to eat particular foods because it's never come up as an issue. The biggest issue I have is actually closing my mouth because my teeth don't come together. So pizza and, biting through sandwiches is sometimes kind of hard.
Ah, okay.
I think I'm right in saying, Marie, that you've got a few items there so you can show us live the world's biggest mouth gape in action. What are you gonna show us first?
Well, you got some stuff on the table there. Is
Yeah.
there anything in particular you would like to see?
Well, shall we start small?
Yeah, let's start.
Shall we go from small to large?
Big, yeah, okay. So
Does
the
that
smallest thing I think we've got is a small Satsuma in orange.
Mandarin orange.
Okay, so this is so we should point out as well. Our lawyers have asked us to explain to everybody at home. Please don't try this at home.
But our producer said if you could just stick one of those in your mouth, quick, sharp. That's what they said.
Most
to
people
us.
can try to bite it sideways. That's not a problem for most people.
Yeah.
But turning it.
Oh my God.
Why? But turning it top to bottom too.
I couldn't find you more attractive. Okay, so we're not too bad. Oh, you've got it all. Yours has disappeared. I don't know if you've got reverse vision there, Marie, because Kat also. Yours has got. Careful, don't choke. So that's good.
That's
okay.
a common one.
Let's go. So that's a common one. So then we're going to move.
Quite nice.
We're going to move on to the apple.
I don't have an apple. I have a kiwi.
Oh, kiwi. Okay, go kiwi then. Go kiwi. What you have a go with your apple?
Sure. Do you cry?
She's a lady. She's a lady. Talking about that little.
Miss Bentley.
I said it before. She's not as expensive as she looks.
Everybody wants to try the fruit. It's a common first attempt. Safe.
Safe, very safe. Right. Okay. So what else have you? You've got a baseball there, I think.
Yes, I do.
You've
A little
got
bit harder now.
Right, so-
Baseball
Yeah.
measures closer to 3 inches.
These are getting close to your
I can't
world
do
record.
that, I don't
Have you? Right. Let's see if before you do it, Marie Cat, see if you can get it in because I don't hurt your teeth. No. That's not going in.
No.
I think we've hit your limit. Just under 3 inches. Right then, Marie,
I almost got my buns off.
will you show us yours?
Okay. So the goal is to try to get your teeth to the top and the bottom across the diameter.
Oh, she struggles.
Oh, it's there though. It's there. That's there.
It's not the best because once you get to that angle, it starts hitting your back teeth.
Of course, yeah.
You see, that's the problem. It starts to.
You've got we've seen you on with a clip of you putting your can of beans. Can you get that can of beans?
Never.
No, that's too big.
No. This is actually beyond the the previous world record holder. She couldn't quite do this measurement here. This is, well,
quite close though.
So yeah, you did come quite close. Yeah. So that's how you knew you could break the world record, is it, Marie? Because you realised that the current the previous world record holder couldn't quite get round a can of beans.
But you can.
Yeah, this is 7.23 centimeters across the can of beans here.
Okay.
So this would have been beyond her abilities.
But not beyond yours. Can you give us a quick demo?
This is a tricky one. It's right at my limits.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I can sort of chomp on it a tiny, tiny bit.
A little bit. Do you do sort of exercises to try and increase the gap, Marie? Is there things that you try and practice to make it bigger?
Mostly just yawning. When I drive around, because I have a courier business, I tend to practice stretching my mouth and, just while I'm out and about. It's mostly about when you're opening your mouth, making sure your tongue isn't being pulled back.
Okay, so keep your tongue forward.
Positioning and holding it steady. That's the hardest part, is holding it steady.
Yeah, that's the most intense. Now, we've got some biscuits here that are very sort of native to the UK, I think, wagon wheels. I don't know if you have wagon wheels in America. Have you seen these chocolate biscuits?
No. It kind of looks like a moon pie.
Yes, a little bit like that.
Moon pie.
A little bit like that,
Yeah.
right? You know moon pie.
Yeah.
Well, famously, Kat Deely here, the ever beautiful and talented young lady that she is,
Graceful,
put
delicate
3 of these
little
in your
flower.
mouth a few years back.
Look how little I am there.
In the presence of Jerry Springer, who, look, I mean, that's there.
I mean, it's not bad, is it? I'm not a professional.
I mean, there's not many things that can shock Jerry Springer, but your abilities with
Bring
the wagon
on the
wheels.
horse.
Right, are we going to try and recreate this? Marie, we're going to try and see if we can get Kat to recreate,
Let's see.
in your honour, Marie, to see if she can get these 3 wagon wheels in her mouth. It's a few years since you did this.
Okay.
You'd have your little
I'm
Geordie
really
friends with you.
hoping that these haven't got bigger over time.
I think shrinkflation, they've got smaller. You'll be fine.
Okay, here we go,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen.
Is there a drum roll on this?
And that's why they pay me the big bucks.
Oh, Marie, look what you've inspired over this side of the pond. Do you think Kat's
I'm impressed, I think that
do you
is.
think Kat's got some form? She could get there one day. She could match your mouth gape.
With a bit of practice. But you just
Excellent.
really have to hold that open really hard.
Marie, do people spot you in the street and ask for pictures and stuff now that you're a Guinness World Record holder?
Generally, it's mostly just congratulations because I'm already known about town. I live in, small island in the middle of nowhere in Alaska. So, everybody already knows me to begin with for the most part. But it has made people a lot more comfortable when when they see me passing by on the street, that's an automatic familiarity with somebody who, you know something about me. Ha ha. I have had the first time someone celebrity sighted me was a really tall guy, and he was just walking. He looked over me as I was getting out of my car to go into the grocery store. He's looking over a car. He's like, "Hey, you!" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I know you. Didn't you get a Guinness record?" And I was like, "Oh, yes, I did." He's like, "Welcome to celebrity status in Ketchikan." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Very
Thank you.
sweet. Well,
he turned out to be a radio host, so I did go on his show after that. So that was nice.
Very cool. Well, thank you for joining us this morning, Marie. Thank you. It's also reminded me just how good wagon wheels are. They're delicious.
You've left me with some very powerful memories, Maria, so I can't thank you enough for that. It's lovely to meet you. Congratulations on your record.
Thank you. It's nice to be on your show.
Thank you.
Wow, Kat Deely.
Yeah. These are delicious, though.
Just
one hasn't put me off.
One at a time.
One at a time.
One at a time would be our advice.
Thank you
Right
for
then.
visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. And we'll see you in the morning. Hello, how are you?
Lovely to
Nice
see
to
you.
see you.
Sit down. We very surreptitiously stuck a mic onto your shoulders. I'm not sure we've ever necessarily had to do an interview like this.
Is this a first?
I think it might be.
Oh, this is so amazing because my messages are, I'm so passionate about what I do and I've worked so hard to get these messages out there. So thank you, because this is just going to empower so many women out there.
Because this is actually what you wanted to do. You wanted to get this conversation started and do the interview exactly as you are.
Yes, because this is what I'm about. It's about being your authentic self and owning your scars. The beauty in these scars. They saved my life. Why would I want to hide them? Why?
Yeah.
You're incredibly passionate about it. You've got this verve for life. I was saying to Kat earlier, you've got these sparkling eyes full of joy.
Yeah.
So they've got the London Marathon coming up.
Yeah.
How is it running topless in the London Marathon? It's a full-on physical challenge.
Done it before, look.
But what's the reaction that you get from people when they suddenly realise that you're running topless?
Oh, it's so mixed. Empowerment, tears of joy. There were women crying in the whole joy and empowerment. It was just phenomenal. The people last year were just mad. It was like magic. And they were cheering and there was no pity there, nothing. Because you can't pity someone running a marathon, can you?
No. Well, isn't that one of the reasons why you wanted to do it as well?
Yeah.
That very reason that you just said was so often when people are diagnosed, when it's that moment where you have to tell your friends or your family, and everybody feels so sad and upset. And it's about taking that power back a little bit, I think.
Totally about that.
Yeah.
And that's what I do it for. So when I was diagnosed in 2022, when I was diagnosed originally, before you tell anybody, it's like a shock. But as soon as you tell people, you're taking them on this real dark journey. You feel guilty taking your family with you. You've caused this, in effect. You feel like that. And then everybody looks at you different. They tilt their head. And it's coming from a lovely place. but you just feel like you're pitied, and I hated that pity.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be pitied. You're losing your femininity, I lost my breasts. Oh, it was just, that's the worst part for me. So I thought, let's turn that around, let's turn that narrative around, and let's show us the strength, the power, the resilience, the discipline, the determination of a marathon runner with the scars on shore, and then you're kind of challenging and arguing the perception of the pity.
Yes, yeah. It's so interesting her saying that, actually, because we've got Trisha on later as well, and she says exactly the same thing. It's like, you can't be afraid of living life.
No, you can't. And that's what I wanted to show. So originally, I couldn't see me.
No.
I couldn't see this. I could see it in pictures, and there's lots of brave women before me showing mastectomies, but I couldn't see anyone living a life, having fun, becoming and evolving something else. So I never look back at how I was with breasts, because now I run marathons, I do other things, I've evolved into something better without them.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the acceptance comes from, because you're never going to look back if you've become something bigger and you've evolved, because now I never ran marathons when I had boobs.
That's interesting.
So now I can say, well, I'm a marathon runner and I haven't got boobs. So that's something that's where the acceptance comes from, and that's what I try to empower in women and men, is if you become something better.
So, and originally, when you had the mastectomy, you chose to have a double mastectomy, and your surgeon did suggest having a reconstruction as well. So it was considered at some point that you could have a reconstruction of some sort.
Oh, yes. And it's not pushed, but it's the kind of, in the research, the negative impact of not having breasts in society will affect a woman. And that's the research. That's not the surgeon saying it's come from research. And I sat in the surgeon's office and I thought, where is that coming from? Is that coming from a stigma? Is that coming from society? Where is that coming from? And I realised that it was kind of like looking at two different people. So this is how I was when I was diagnosed, and I felt the pity. I wanted to hide. I couldn't get used to this body because it was devastating. You're grieving the loss of a person. You're grieving. It took 6 months of just emotions up and down. And I thought, this is where you feel the pity, because the pity is kind of coming from you. And now I'm this, and I've become this, and I've evolved. There's no pity there. And then that sort of sparks out into the surroundings, and the stigma starts to go away. So it kind of comes from you initially. And I just wanted to let's change perceptions of mastectomy scars. Let's change that.
And can we talk about your diagnosis as well? Because you almost didn't, you got wrongly diagnosed, and then they finally found it when you persisted and went back for another check.
Yeah, that was a real shock, because I'd struggled with health anxiety most of my life. Right. Whereas the irony of that is literally like you constantly feel like there's something wrong with you, you might have some disease, and you haven't. It's just the way your mind works. And that's why I started running, because the running tricked my mind into saying, well, there can't be anything wrong with you, Louise, because you're running. No. And it's kind of like tricking yourself. So I was like doing all these runs, and then I was like, well, if I can keep running and just doing that, then that's great. And that's when I started training for the virtual London Marathon. But the health anxiety was a little bit there. So I went and I got a private mammogram just to make sure I was all right. No symptoms, nothing. And because obviously you don't get called up on the NHS till a certain age. And I went for the mammogram and it was clear.
Which is the news you want to hear as well.
Yeah.
So it's so easy to go, oh, great.
Yeah.
This is great. This is what I want to hear.
It was clear. And I was like, right, OK, I've got this confidence now. What I'm going to do now is have this really good self-check in the shower. Because I did self-check, but I think I just had that confidence to go a little bit further in and really check. Because you're always a bit worried that you're going to find something. Yeah. So I literally had a delve, and there was a tiny little bit of a thickening on the left side here. Yeah. Where you can see, like, the dent. And I wasn't worried, but I went to the doctors and she wasn't worried. Yeah. But because she wanted me to have peace of mind, she sent me to the breast clinic. They did an ultrasound and found 5 abnormal areas.
I mean, you were very lucky as well to catch it.
Yeah, and there was 5 centimetres. 5 centimetres of lobular breast cancer. Now, lobular is in the lobules, what produce the milk, and it doesn't have the protein that sticks it together and forms the mass,
right?
Which is what's seen on the mammogram.
So it's not more of a tumour; it's more of a kind of a web.
Yeah, like a web, and that's why it grows quite in and out of the breast tissue and is not seen. It wasn't even seen properly on the MRI scan.
So thank goodness you persisted.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't be here, potentially.
Yeah.
How have your family reacted, though, Louise? Because it's one thing for you to be super empowered and come in and we can see the energy in the life that you have. But it is still quite disarming to see somebody sitting topless on our sofa and interviewing you as courageous and as brave as you are.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that's the thing. It's not a shock tactic, but it's not something you see, is it? It's not something you see. My family are very supportive. They kind of know that I kind of think outside the box. I have most of my life. I just kind of go around things a little bit differently to other people, so they're not really shocked. But yeah, and I do think that's what I like to spark. I like to spark the discussion, even if it's negative, because to me that's valid.
Yes.
Because people's perceptions are different, and you've got to get it out there to get discussed. I mean, even comments I get on my social media, it's usually the one about the testicles, and that's, well, if I'd have testicular cancer, should I run around now without pants? Well, how does that work? Because there's still bits dangling around, and it's not genitalia, is it?
No.
And that's the thing. Another thing it brings up is, what are breasts? They're not genitals. They're not sexual. They've been sexualised. And that's where we're talking. Men run around topless. I have no breasts. There's no nipples. What are you asking me to cover up?
Do you get a bit of criticism then at times, Louise, from people about the fact that you're running topless?
Yes, because it's quite shocking, isn't it? And that's what I wanted to show. And the thing is, a lot of people say as well, you're going to traumatise children. My children, my 5-year-old wanted to see my scars. She wanted to see them. She was curious. Child's imagination will run wild unless if you hide.
They hate the unknown.
And that's when they start making things up in their head. So when she actually saw them, she was like, oh, they're all right. They're not as bad as I thought. And that was it.
That's it, and you're done.
And they're gone, and they're off. And that's it. That's all it is. They're just scars.
Well, I think you're groundbreaking,
yes.
Louise, what you've done.
And you're here today because of them
and we're
as
very
well.
proud to have you on the sofa with us.
You.
Very excited for the marathon.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Have you got a time in mind?
Well, I want to do 4.5 hours, but
4.5.
we'll see what happens on the day. Because
it's going to be emotional.
You know marathon, and it's never what you plan.
It isn't what you plan. But if you're going to be on the London Marathon route, do look out for Louise and give her a big cheer.
I think we're going down to the end, actually. We're going to go and see Joel, so I'll shout for you.
Yeah, definitely shout. Oh,
Good
I
luck.
can't wait.
I'll give you
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Oh, hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.
Now, on Monday's show, we discussed the news that the boss of the Royal Ballet wants more plus-size ballerinas on stage and prompted a huge response from you.
Yeah, our viewer Lynn said that while she was overweight, she doesn't want to see plus-size dancers on stage. And Avril said male dancers won't be able to lift bigger women.
Lots of you disagreed, including proud size 16 ballet dancer Trixie Kicks, who joins us now. Hello, you.
Hello. So good to see you.
Coming in.
How do you feel when you hear those sort of comments?
It's infuriating. Annoying, not surprising, but incredibly infuriating. Yeah.
Is it ill-informed, do you think? Is that why it's infuriating?
Part of it is, yeah, definitely. And not knowing actually the culture that comes from those kind of comments and those kind of traditions and opinions and how damaging that is, like how long-lasting it is for ballerinas and dancers who have to hear that and then implement it if they want a career.
Yeah. Let's go back to you. When did you first fall in love with ballet?
At 2 years old. It's like my
really?
nursery had a nursery on the ground floor and a studio on the top floor, so I did ballet from 2. And the videos of me doing it at 2 years old, I'm taking it incredibly seriously, and you can just see I fell in love with it.
So it's been your life ever since?
Yeah, danced ever since, and then went into full-time training at 16, and then loved it even more once I was doing it full-time. Yeah.
So when did you feel that you didn't kind of fit in the ballet world?
I think probably for most girls, it's when you hit puberty and things are going up and out and you're in the pink tights, the leotards, in front of a big mirror for hours in the day. And if you're not fitting that mould you've seen of ballerinas and dancers over the years, of that incredibly thin physique, you're noticing you're not fitting that mould. And then when I was auditioning for dance colleges, because I moved into more sort of dance and musical theatre, but still doing ballet. And when I was auditioning for dance colleges, I was getting comments like, fantastic audition, what a great day. You're a beautiful dancer, but you know you've got a huge weight problem. And I was about a size 12 back then. And you know you've got a huge weight problem, but you know that, don't you? And your thighs are too overdeveloped. And I didn't really, I had to nod along, like...
It would be those words, would it?
Yeah, like... It was mad, like, and that was just in the audition process, let alone going to those kind of colleges. And we know that was like dance musical theatre colleges, and we know it's so much worse in ballet schools. We've heard the personal accounts and stuff. And we know that old-fashioned teachers still use sticks and stuff, and they're poking and prodding at things and telling you to suck this in and that shouldn't be there, and I can see your dinner. Like, comments like that are so outdated and so damaging. We know it's so damaging for ballerinas and all dancers, for their mental health, their physical health, for the rest of their lives sometimes.
Well, it's body shaming, really, isn't it? It's blatant body shaming.
To a really high level.
But in the ballet world, the average ballet dancer is what, size 4
Teeny
to
tiny.
8?
Yeah.
They're very, very small. I mean, you are the average size
Very
woman.
average, 16
normal.
to 18. Very average.
Normal size. Did it ever have a massive effect on your self-confidence?
I definitely saw it and felt it, but I was quite stubborn, and I've raised to be quite stubborn and to get what I want. And I wanted to be a dancer, and I was never going to be a professional ballerina, but I loved ballet, and it is a really strong core of dance, whatever style of dance you want to do. So my stubbornness I just ignored it, and I wanted to push through it, and I wanted to be the change. Like, it sounds very cliche, but you have to be the change, and there has to be that physical representation.
If you don't see it, you can't be it.
On stage, on social media nowadays is such a massive thing. So I pushed through, and I didn't go to those colleges that made those comments. I went to different colleges, and then I ended up going into the world of burlesque, which is all about female empowerment, all about body diversity, and I just got even more passionate about it through years of performing that.
But on the other end of the scale, these poor girls are under huge pressure. You're kind of getting that, not criticism necessarily, but you're getting the feedback on one end of the scale. Like, and then you've got these other girls who are small, who are like, I didn't even, size 4 is like so tiny, right? And the pressure, reading in my notes, she said it's coffee, it's cigarettes, it's literally just keep that size.
And part of that is the selection process, I think, into ballet school. Like, those who maybe have that natural frame are going to be selected into ballet school. So it's partly that selection process, and then on top of that, all of that conditioning and pressure from teachers, from directors in schools. So I really hope this announcement is going to actually be implemented into the
Yeah, what do you make of it? Because obviously the head of the Royal Ballet, Ian McKay, says he'd like to see more plus-size ballerinas represented on stage. What are the tangible steps to make that happen, to change that culture?
Makes, an actual difference in the schools, the way teachers teach, the way they speak to the students, the language they use and what they focus on, whether it is the physique or whether it is actually technique and artistry. And actually, what you weigh has no effect on your technique and artistry as a performer.
Because you've still got to be good.
You've still got to be a fantastic dancer.
No one's going, open the doors to everyone,
athletic, right? To be a ballet dancer. But there doesn't need to be that focus on thinness. There doesn't need to be focus on that really traditional but outdated aesthetic. So I hope we see the difference from people saying, the people that are actually in the ballet schools, and then see the difference on stage, where we do actually eventually see a more wider diversity of bodies.
And surely when you hear people say, well, they can't lift the dancers, surely they need to get stronger, the men then.
They do, yeah. I've got some mates who can help them down the gym if they like.
But is there a certain point with men where they would get too muscly to be ballerina? Like, as in, I mean, I don't know, like, would they be too body...
Yeah, but I think...
But that's OK, we can embrace
those kind of roles, they're so limited. Only a couple of dancers in natural company will actually show you get lifted. The rest of the corps de ballet don't get lifted most of the time. So,
and isn't it to do with your own core as well? You've got to have a really strong core.
So strong. So I used to do cheerleading as well, and to be lifted, you have to be so strong. It's to lift someone who is weak. It feels really heavy. They feel like a dead weight.
Yeah.
So you have to be so strong to be lifted, and you have to be fueled to have that energy.
And you're teaching ballet now. How do you make people feel included? What sort of people come to your classes?
A whole mix. I go to classes, I teach classes, and it's so, from social media, we get so much more social media these days, and seeing the actual people in the classes and actually talking about it and telling people, that there's such a range of people from their 20s to their 80s in some of the classes that I go to, all range of sizes, all range of abilities.
So what do we do it online? I'm getting involved in this.
There's courses online, there's classes online, there's so much you can do. If you want to start from home, if you're starting it or you're getting back into it, there's so much you can do online. And then come into an actual class, you can't beat that community feeling of a ballet class.
My wife started doing ballet bar. You know, ballet
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. That's more focused on like sculpting and
Does she
stuff.
do it at home?
She likes it.
Or does she do that?
It's hard. It's hard.
She goes to class.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Very hard, yeah.
What would you say? The kids watching this and they just want to get into ballet, irrespective of this.
And they might be a little bit bigger.
I'd say be stubborn like me and go. Start at home if you want to, but go to the classes, because I think there is this preconceived notion of what a ballet class is like, because we know what old teachers used, how they used to be like with their canes and slapping bums and stuff. And I think that has massively changed in most recreational ballet classes, definitely. And there is a different vibe. It is way more inclusive and friendly. And there's people just like you in the class who would just want to be there for a good time. It's so good for you mentally, physically. Ballet is such a good form of exercise, but it's the artistry and the joy of moving to music and also being with other people who enjoy that too. Yeah. So go to the classes, because you might be surprised actually the people there and how the teachers are.
Thank you so much. And you're so great on social media. Have you seen her on social media? You're such a lovely dancer. Thank you so much.
I just want to put that message out there, because more people should be able to enjoy ballet if they want to.
Thanks. Hi everyone, just wanted to say thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. Now listen, we upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. And we'll see you in the morning.
Now, we're remembering one of our beloved This Morning family members today, 19-year-old Matthew Locke. Matthew first appeared on the show back in 2020 and charmed the pants off us with his enthusiasm and love for gadgets. We often had him review everything from vacuum cleaners to phone cases.
Yeah, however, just over a year ago, Matthew tragically took his own life. And his parents, Richard and Christine, have since been campaigning to raise awareness about ADHD and the increased suicide risks that come with that. Welcome, Christine and Richard. Thank you so much for joining us. We absolutely adored your boy. We loved him, didn't we?
He just had this passion and enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And he had funny bones, he was kind, he was caring. Yeah. You know, we didn't get to meet him an awful lot, like we only met him a few times, but he was a breath of fresh air when he came into the studio.
And
a real character.
Yeah, and he loved coming in.
Did he?
This was his passion.
Yeah.
And
he loved his
dopamine.
He loved his vacuum cleaners, didn't he? He loved them vacuum cleaners.
Yeah.
He was so passionate.
Oh, yeah.
Where did this all start? Tell us a little bit about him.
Well, it was sort of from an early age. He actually started to sort of pick up and just love the things. And then he actually started to repair them. And that sort of grew. And he had an incredible ability just to find what the problem was and fix it. A young engineer in the making. Yeah. And it grew and grew. And he ended up with his collection of over 100 vacuums. And his social media then grew and the story sort of got out there.
And his passion was unbounding as well. He was so politically engaged, wasn't he, as a councillor? And I know that he met many politicians. So,
that's right.
You know, he just had the rest of his life ahead of him.
So, he was so loving as well. Like, he used to pick up litter, didn't he? He'd go out and he'd pick up litter.
He would help anyone. He would talk to everybody in the community, young, old. He was caring, sensitive. But that can sometimes be an ADHD trait, that you can be overly sensitive. Yeah. Basically, emotional dysregulation can come into it.
He was diagnosed with autism at 14.
Yeah.
At the time, the signs of ADHD were missed. But I suppose from your point of view, when you have that diagnosis, you go, well, in many ways, great, because that's what we get. That's what we have to work.
That's
with,
exactly what we thought. Yeah, we thought, okay, so that's why Matthew hyper-focuses on maybe one
thing.
He's
functioning, he's great, he's got a great world, great life.
He'd gone through school and was doing all right, he was getting through, and he'd gone to, or he's going to university. I remember Chris coming into the bedroom one night and go, how's Matthew going to cope? I think he's got ADHD, there's more behind this. And we then pursued a diagnosis, and he did eventually get diagnosed at 19, but it had been missed from the age of 14 right the way through to 18, 19.
On reflection now, looking back, can you see that all the traits of ADHD? What are those traits that you noticed? And when you look back now, you can go, it was like so obvious.
Lack of focus inattention to things he wasn't interested in.
Everything
Disorganisation, everything last minute, yeah. If he wanted to do something, yeah, I'll do it now.
Yeah.
You know, we couldn't say, well, I'll tell you what, should we do that tomorrow? Should we plan? No, I'll do it now. I've got to do it now. And then different focuses. He'd have a hobby and then love that for a while. And then that was it. I'm finished with that. I like doing this now. But he was very sociable. So the autism side, I thought, well, perhaps this is ADHD as well, but we didn't realise that the two can coexist. We didn't realise that.
Yeah.
And
I imagine that
typically about 80% of people with autism have ADHD as well. It's a co-occurring thing. From the diagnosis that Matthew got, surely they should have looked into that as well.
And what you're saying, I'm sure, resonates with so many viewers at home, whether it's their families or themselves. I listen, you know, you're listing off those character traits, and I was like, I'm a bit like that. So you don't think about it, right? Exactly.
But it's when it impacts you. It's when it's persistent and it's showing up in school. You may be having problems. The teacher may be saying, we're having a problem with this young boy, young girl. They're not concentrating.
Right.
And of course, it does present differently with girls. Girls mask, as we all know. But if this isn't identified early enough, then these layers of self-esteem get battered and the child won't understand, well, why do I feel like this? Why can't I learn like X, Y, and Z, my peers? So ADHD is a brilliant thing. It's a superpower.
And the craziest thing, like, adults are 3 times more likely to use drugs. They'll have a drug issue,
or
disorder,
alcohol.
alcohol, something like that. And our Matthew did struggle with that, didn't he?
Within
the age of about
ADHD, about 50% of people find some form of addiction, whether that be gambling, whether that be drugs, whether that be alcohol, social media. All of those things play into that. And there's a lot of people we've come across, you know, are struggling in that area, but actually just don't know that it's linked to ADHD. There's some work being done by Dr. Peter Mason, who's done a research into treating people for ADHD who have got opiates and other drug misuse. Pretty much all of those people that he treated for ADHD came off the drugs.
Or lessened it.
So it's incredibly powerful. And if people can get that understanding and treatment early, then it's not going to affect their lives long term.
As you were just saying there, guys, it can come in so many different ways. And I'm sure the last thing you want to do today is scare anyone at home.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, you've been working with parts of the NHS ADHD task force. Can you tell us what that involves?
Yeah, we on the back of working with ADHD UK, we did a conference, a global conference, explaining Matthew's story. And there are risks associated with ADHD, but equally there's a powerful story behind it if it's managed properly. So we were then asked to join the task force, which is a collection of leading experts, doctors, and also experts by experience, which we're classed as. And we're hopefully coming up with some recommendations
from
to
our
take
point
this
of
forward.
View. Our experience.
What would be those, do you think? Just, I mean, obviously you're not there yet, but like, just top of your head,
I
do you
think
think
we need
really need to
earlier.
change?
We need earlier diagnosis. We need earlier screening when a child, as young as possible, because if they're going into secondary years and they've struggled in primary, they're only going to struggle more in secondary years. And that's when you've got to be organised. Peer pressure increases, and these kids want to fit in if they're really impacted by it. So you can be a risk taker with ADHD too, due to the impulsivity symptom. And kids will want to be accepted. So there's higher risk-taking behaviours that they'll take just to fit in. So that could be, OK, I'll try that drug. OK, I'll be the one who jumps off that third step where nobody else will. So interestingly, if it really is impacting, and as we're saying, we don't want to scare anybody, of course, Matthew, that made Matthew who he was. And I can tell you this, there's no way that he wanted to do what he did However, the impulsivity and the lack of being able with executive function to stop, think of the consequence, he's followed that through.
Yeah.
And that is what we can try and pull back. If somebody knows they do have an impulsive nature, and whether that's associated with ADHD, there are strategies to use, resources to be able to stop, think, reflect and wait.
Well, listen, anything we can do to help in the future, please just come back, talk about it.
Thank you.
Whatever you need, we're here. He was a cherished member of our family, and by extension, you are. And the way you've spoken today.
He would be so proud of what you're doing as well. And you've changed the website for the NHS.
Yeah, we've
You've
got
done
that
so
change,
much.
and all we can do is hope we can make a difference in Matthew's name and
He'd
change
want that,
the outcome.
because he would want to be here. There's no way.
He'd love this.
There's too many stories where children have taken their own life and they've been struggling with ADHD and struggling to get an assessment or referral. So we just need to educate ourselves. Thank you.
Richard, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, listen, if you have been affected by any of the issues discussed, help and guidance is available on our This Morning website.
Thank you so much for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every single day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the morning. And Anne Chambers, a.k.a. Crazy Auntie Anne, joins us now. You are a tonic.
You are crazy.
That is great.
It's so lovely to meet you.
So nice to meet you, Anne. Where did this come from? So you're a teacher.
I am.
And what did you were telling your students your message, weren't you?
My niece started my account when I was back before lockdown.
Yeah.
Hence
Crazy
the
Auntie
crazy auntie, because I am that crazy auntie. You know, that
You're the one.
Leaves chocolate under the pillows.
Yeah, nice.
So Kelsey, my niece, she made my account, and then when we went into lockdown, because I teach mental health for a living, or I taught, I've just retired actually.
Yeah.
Mental health for a living. When we went into lockdown, I wanted to cheer my students up because they were all 16-year-old and stuck in the home, stuck in the bedroom.
What an age to be stuck as well.
Also, they needed to meet the learning outcomes as well. So I thought, let's be a bit more creative. So I started making silly videos to cheer them all up, and also encouraging them to make videos to talk about mental health and that sort of thing. And then I was talking to them one day when we were having a class, and I said, you know, you guys can be anything you want to be in life. If you want to be an astronaut, you can be an astronaut. You've got to study really hard, push yourself as far as you can, knock on that door that you're not supposed to go in and go, I want to come in here, how do I get in? But you can do anything. I said, for example, set me a challenge. So they said, get 10,000 followers on TikTok. So I said, yeah, all right.
I'll try.
Okay.
So how quick did you get the 10,000, and how is it quite difficult to get the traction?
Well, I posted regularly, and then look. I think it was just one of those things. I read a poem. There's two videos that I did. One, I read a poem, and I was in my dressing gown.
Normal.
Yeah. And everybody was like, I love your dressing gown. And my dressing gown became famous before me, I think, actually. And so this dressing gown became famous, and it took off and it got a lot of views, and I went up to 70,000 followers with this one video. And then,
unbelievable.
And then I also shared one where, the bottom half is a gentleman playing a guitar.
I remember that, and then you're on the top.
And I'm on top half, and that it's made 30 million views. It's just absolutely.
And that's someone in particular seeing it, and because I'm not on TikTok, so I'm not like.
But it's literally a little bit like Instagram, and I think it just gets trending, and people start watching it, and then people see it, famous people see it, and famous people have even been in contact, haven't they? Who's been in touch? We've had Ed Sheeran.
Ed Sheeran commented.
What did he say?
He said Slay Queen.
Brilliant.
Slay Queen. Oh, look at that.
Look at you with a little 4-heart emoji going back at him.
Yeah,
Like your
obviously,
style.
you know.
Thank
you.
I should have put tickets, please.
Yeah, exactly.
You could direct message him now if he's following.
I could, yeah.
And who else?
And then Slash shared, actually, the video that I did with the guitar, Slash shared it on his Instagram.
Do you think he thought that was really you playing it?
To this day, I don't know. He either thinks I'm a really good guitar player or I'm really funny, and I'm not sure which one of those is. I don't suppose I'll ever know, really.
I haven't seen that guitar one before.
It's good, isn't it? It's so good.
Read the
really so they cut off the bottom bit. That's somebody else playing.
I'm only the top
So
half.
who did that? Did you do that?
Yeah. I did that, yeah. And I'm just the top half, so I do the guitar faces.
So she's just doing the faces.
I'm just
in
doing all
someone
the
else's hands, and then they put it together.
And then
so good.
and in the comments, like, it was really funny because in the comments, people going, "You're a really good guitar player." And I'm like,
it's because you was both in black. I think because you was both in black, it looked so good when you pieced it together.
But when and then other people are going, "She's not really playing." And then so I could just sit back and watch all the comments, all just like.
So your students said 10,000.
Yep.
What are you up to now?
2.1 million.
What a message to give to them.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and when I got back out of when we came back out of lockdown, they were all so proud of me, you know. And one of the funny stories as well after that was, I was only a couple of weeks after lockdown, and one of my students said, I can't go to maths today. And I said, if I can get 70,000 followers on TikTok, you can go to maths.
You can get to maths.
And what's incredible about this whole thing? This is life changing because you've retired early.
I have,
and you're earning money from doing TikTok.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you earn the money?
A lot of song promos. We do a lot of songs, so new bands going through because TikTok's wonderful for that. It's wonderful for music.
So what, do you get paid to use a particular music?
Yeah.
This is a new world.
New brand deals coming through. There's so much coming through in terms of, like, even Marshall Jeffries, who was like the Chicago house scene.
Yeah.
He wanted to do a Zoom call with me, so I went on Zoom. And I thought, oh, that's so nice. He must want to talk to one of his fans. And when I got on the call with him, with my management agency, he was like, oh, my wife's a big fan of yours. Can I have a photograph?
What?
I'm like, oh.
And where does the love of music come from? Because did you love that Chicago house scene? Is that what you got sort of back into back in the day?
Yeah, I mean, I love all house music, I love all music. I love music.
Yeah, you're into your music.
Yeah, and actually, you know, so, I mean, I married quite young, and then I got divorced when I was sort of 38, and then that's when the house thing came along. That's when I went out partying. And actually, one of the strange things is a lot of comments that I got on my social media are, can we see some photographs or videos of you in your club days? And they don't exist because we didn't have mobile phones.
No. Oh, yeah, you had
Thank
real
God.
photos.
Yeah, we didn't.
And did you think?
Yeah.
I checked you out yesterday, and in many ways, the unheralded, like, the support act here is your husband.
Yes.
I saw him popping
Uncle Eric.
Uncle Eric,
I saw it. Because he looks like he's quite. There we go. Always looks like he's going to put upon.
It's like me and you.
Yeah, exactly. Does he secretly love it?
He does. Yeah, he does.
I saw him doing the air tonight with Phil Collins yesterday with the pots and pans. It was brilliant.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm so glad this has changed your life. You're bringing so much joy to so many people. What would you say to someone who's at home thinking, oh, I could never do that. I could never have the confidence to go on TikTok. What would you say to them?
Be yourself. I think if I was to put down one of the things that I think has been successful for me is because I'm just me, just as I am.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I like you.
Oh, you're just your
authentic self. And I think but you guys are though, aren't you? It comes across when you're yourself, and I think because I'm just me, just as I am. And also, you just got to not care what people think, haven't you? You've got to not care.
We love you, Anne.
Yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Keep earning your money and just enjoy your life, Bab.
And inspiring, Anne.
Who would have thought a 63-year-old could give up work to be a
That's why you're inspiration.
You are a star. You're a star. You're on this morning, Bab. You're a star now. Thank you so much for joining us, Anne. Hi, everyone. Just wanted to say thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. Now, listen, we upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. And we'll see you in the morning.